Hello, everybody. Welcome to Soulspeak. This is a kind of an impromptu episode about the coronavirus. My first attempt at touching on a hot topic. Oh boy, we still got stuff up on Discord. Hold up. There we go. That's better. So yeah, as we all know, oh, there is no bow tie. I was rushing. I'm gonna have to put on the bow tie. All right. So, as I was saying, yeah, this is an impromptu episode, and coronavirus is obviously a pressing matter. Global pandemic. I don't know what's going on. I wanted to do a lot more research today, but my call broke down. Luckily, I've surrounded myself with some of the most insightful, intelligent people on the planet, and they know everything there is to know about everything ever. Okay? So it's gonna be dope. Alright, I won't put that on them. But as per usual, we are going to be taking questions and comments from chat. Just feel free to throw it in there. Tell us what you think in chat. Ask your questions. We're going to have designated areas to sort of focus on that, but we'll try to address it throughout as well. Also, if you'd like to check out any of the panelists, you can always hit the panel command button. We are going to start with introductions. That'll begin on my top left, and that is CrashedStarling. So Crash, just tell us who you are and give us maybe a brief overview of any experience you might have had with the virus so far, whether it's impacted like your town or your household or you directly, if anything.
Okay, first of all, you're muted in Discord.
Everyone's muted. I can't hear anybody.
I am muted in Discord.
So I had to watch your stream to know what you were saying.
My bad. That was my bad. I shouldn't have done that. I'm sorry, guys. So
He kept looking at me. I'm like, all right. I kept pulling. For the guy.
I'm sorry, Ahmed, alright? It's been a day. My car broke down, and I had... Look, I'm blaming all my problems on that. If anything stupid happens on my end, it's my car breaking down's fault, and not mine. So Crash, tell us who you are, a brief overview of what you do, and any relative experience with the coronavirus.
Hello, I'm CrashedStarling. I am a producer and panelist of another podcast called Nerd Lore Podcast. And as far as personal experience goes with the virus, I have no confirmed cases in my family, but there's quite a few in my immediate vicinity. And my workplace, which is through a school district, has been taking some pretty on-point precautions for this virus, and I wanted to come on today and speak on that a little bit.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Deadlift for Chips, you are next, my friend.
Hi, it was Deadlift for Chips. I wish I could say I'm doing another podcast, but I'm not. As far as the experience with as far as experience with the coronavirus, that's all I have literally to deal with every single day because I work in healthcare.
Ooh.
So I can't escape it from social media. I can't escape it from work. I'm working from home, which we'll talk about later. Yeah, I have a million things to say.
I look forward to it, as always, Mr. Right. Chips. Next is actually a longtime friend of mine. We've known each other since, what, like, age 10 or some shit? And, well, I'll let him introduce himself. Ahmed, tell everyone a little bit about yourself and any relative experience you might have with the virus itself.
You're muted, bud.
Ahmed, you are muted. I didn't mute him. Yeah, he's good on my end. You better start talking, boy.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
Science team. Jersey was in pharmaceuticals, years in science and biomedical sciences from UMDNJ School of. Then it used to be like involved in medical device sales and health of
Ahmed,
Yeah, I have a lot to say.
you're cutting in and out really hard, at least for me. Is that for anybody else?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. No! He's gone. And that's Ahmed, everybody. Alright, while Ahmed sorts his stuff out, Ahmed, if you could hear me, if you don't have your laptop plugged into your charger, please do so. I should have mentioned that off the bat beforehand. Finn, please take it away, man. A little bit of what you do and relative experience with the coronavirus.
Hi, I'm FinDiesel. I run a Twitch stream when I have time to do that. I don't have significant personal experience with the virus, but I've been trying to stay as informed as possible. And I like to kind of stay up on this kind of stuff. So I'm interested in this discussion more than I am a personal expert. But yeah, I think I have a good handle on what's going on.
That's what's up. I believe it. And we have the lovely Miss Molly next.
I'm MollyKanHas, a variety streamer who mostly does horror games. Easily startled. In my day job, I work at an administrative healthcare organization. We mostly deal with claims that are being reviewed for medical necessity, so we are not going to see the impact from this yet, but I'm guessing in the fall we're going to start seeing a lot of the claims related to this come through. And then personally, our office is actually, I mean, we're working from home like almost everyone else is, but we had a presumed positive case in the office. So there's a couple of essential people who are still going in occasionally, of which I am one, because we have to deal with medical records and imaging and sending out physical letters. Other than that, I'm more on Finn's side where I have a personal interest, but I'm not a clinician, so I don't have that background to bring to this. I've just been reading up on it in my own time.
That's what's up. Thank you for that. And I am Slurpaglurp. I don't know nearly as much as I'd like to about this, but I'm hopefully going to learn some things tonight. I'm kind of on the fence with everything. There definitely seems to be some crazy shit going on. I'm just, I wouldn't say naturally, but over the years I've become very distrustful of the mainstream media and government in general. So, I don't want to be that guy that says, go out and party, because you probably shouldn't. But at the same time, is everyone gonna die? I don't know about all that. So we're gonna start breaking all this stuff down. That will conclude our introductions for now. For those of you just joining us, remember, post your questions and comments in chat. We will have designated time slots to get to them, and we'll try to address it throughout. Fido, thank you for that host. I don't know what the hell is going on with my alerts. I don't know what's going on with anything today. My car broke down. Did I mention that? Okay, let's get to it. We are gonna get into COVID-19. If Ahmed ever gets back to us, I don't know where he went, then hopefully he'll be able to weigh in. But yeah, I guess let's just get started. So, the virus and the origin of it. So we are told, I think, is it at least agreed upon that this started out in Wuhan, China?
Yeah, that's what's been at least confirmed from, I think, the Chinese government, is that it started in a medical research facility, question mark? But it was in Wuhan.
Oh, it was in Wuhan.
Yeah.
It was in Wuhan. Okay, gotcha. So, a research facility in Wuhan. Does anybody know what exactly they were researching?
So I read that it started in the wet markets in Wuhan.
What is that?
So wet market is like an open market where there's a lot of blood and fluids, and they sell all kinds of different meat, including stranger things like bats that we're not, used to seeing here. So that's, yeah.
So you think it's at least possible it could have been a consumable animal product?
At least possible, yes.
Gotcha. Because I remember I did hear in the beginning about bats. Like bat meat. Tainted bat meat. But I don't know if that was like internet memery or if it was like...
No, there was some credibility to that. They were looking at, because they tested a bunch of people near a village where the like bat caves, like they found a lot of people had had something like this for a long time, but weren't necessarily like seriously impacted by it, or not necessarily this strain of it. I was listening to an NPR report on it, and they were talking about the area where they thought that it came from when they thought that it had come from bats. So I'm pretty sure that that much is kind of true. I think that there's pretty strong evidence that it didn't come from a lab, but I'd have to find a good source on that. But I'm pretty sure the origin, I think right now, is that it started in bats somehow. I don't know if it was consuming bats or bats like, you know, scratching or biting or something like that. I don't know exactly. I would have to look. But I think bats is the origin, to the best of our knowledge.
Okay. That, I mean, I still kind of want to try bat meat, but this is making me a bit more skeptical of doing so. Deadlift, Crash, do either of you... well, Crash already went. Deadlift?
Well, interesting enough, there's an update every 5 minutes, I want to say. Whether you're social media, you go down the street, which we'll probably get more to later. I could talk about my personal experience at the grocery store on Friday.
Oh, boy.
Which was interesting. But mainly right now, there's over, this was 6 hours ago from NBC, about 300,000 cases of the coronavirus being found. And I'm pretty sure that's worldwide, not in the U.S., but I would have to double check. 1 second.
It's 335,000 cases globally.
Okay, yeah, worldwide, okay.
Hold on, can you say that one more time?
335,000 cases globally confirmed.
And these are all officially tested people.
This is, yes, people who have been confirmed to have had the virus, so tested.
Yep.
Okay. That's... we'll get to that in a bit. So I would like, and hopefully Ahmed well, okay, first off, Sierra said that it was an Institute of Virology. Virology? How do you pronounce that? Virology. Ahmed, welcome back, man. Do you have any insights as to the origin of the virus? Do you think it was Wuhan? Could it have started somewhere else?
They were talking. There's so many different stories, man. Wuhan, a research facility that has like the same logo as Resident Evil umbrella company logo.
It does.
If you look it up, I can.
Yeah, but that's a meme. That's not a real thing.
It's not a real thing.
Well, and like people said that it was raccoon, but there's a
that's-
C missing. It's like that's all memery.
The logo though wasn't an actual umbrella.
No, it's really a real biotech facility with that logo. It's just the one they made as a meme was extreme. But at the same time, that's only like a few blocks where the virus like originated, and it was in
Ahmed, you're still cutting out. What is happening? Alright, let's move it along to the nature of the virus. I see a lot. And there goes my overlay. He's on the other line with Donald Trump, I think. But you're now deadlift for Chip, Sierra, so I hope you respect that. And Molly is... My car broke down today! I was
getting tired of covering the nips, by the way.
Oh my god.
I saw me right now. That's all good, Coffin. I appreciate the offer. Coffin, actually, I spoke to him in a DM and in my server. He seems to have like a lot of good insights and experience with it. Sierra, though, always the curious lassie, an insightful one at that. So I'm happy to have her on as well. But I'm afraid I'm going to exhaust the lady because I've had her on a bunch and I plan to have her on a lot more.
Dude, whatever.
It ain't whatever.
I don't do anything on the weekends, so like...
That's fair.
I have nothing else
And
to do.
Guys...
Except either watch this or be on this.
That's what's up. I appreciate that. Okay, so while I adjust this, do any of you have anything to say about the origin or the nature of the virus? If not, you can move on to safety tips while I adjust this logo. These seem pretty general. People in chat, though, please share, like, not just safety tips and best practices, but maybe like online retailers or big box retailers where people can get supplies that you know of, because that would be very helpful. I'm just saying. Deadlift, you look very happy right now.
No, I'm just reading him in chat saying, keep your butt clean.
Say it out loud, Deadlift. Tell him to keep. Everyone in chat, keep
He's
your
like
damn butt
whispering,
clean.
like, keep your ass clean. Clean your ass. Like,
Wipe your ass with your hands, wash your hands, keep your butt clean.
That's fair.
It's just
also
good
stop
advice in
buying
general.
masks.
Yes.
Buy
I've said 1,000 times that doesn't work. Or that
Wipe
doesn't
your
help
butt with
anything.
Can we break down the mask and toilet paper thing? Like, is the toilet paper thing just because people want essentials, they don't want to be without it, or is there some
Yeah, it's
Because
correlation?
if you pile enough
Yeah.
toilet paper in front of the windows, it keeps all the coronas out.
That's fair.
I think it is just like a matter of like, oh no, we might be quarantined. I need to make sure that I have all of the essentials so that if I don't have to like go out and get them and don't want to run out.
But
It's not like I'm gonna have diarrhea. It's like I need to have these things in my house.
what does that say about America, where like the first goal is
Yeah.
toilet
We
paper?
waste paper. I don't know what else to say.
You're
We're wasteful
right.
in our diets
It's
or
that-
shit.
Yeah.
Personal comfort too, right? Like if I'm gonna be trapped inside, I don't want to have to, it's like I want to be personally comfortable in my home if I'm
That's valid.
stuck in it forever.
Forever. For the rest
I mean,
of
like the people you're
Forever.
buying enough toilet, like people made a calculator to show like how much extra toilet paper you're gonna have because of all the stupid amounts of toilet paper you bought. It's like if you get out at this date, it'll be like this is how many rolls you have left, and for some people it's a lot.
Yeah, I'm sure. I couldn't even go buy one extra thing. Like I had one full like thing of toilet paper when this all started, and then I was like, "Ooh, better go to the store and get all of my essentials," and the shelves were already cleaned out. So
Oof.
I hope it's enough.
All right.
Yeah,
so-
well, and grocery stores are essential, so like they'll be open and they're gonna be restocked. Unless
That's
people
valid.
keep buying like this, it's gonna be fine.
Right, like they have to stop at some point.
I will say this is a prime time to invest in a movable shower head and or bidet, as we all should know. The toilet paper. Okay. Numbers and projected spread. So Crash said, I think it was Crash, right? Who mentioned 335,000 affected, or was that Finn?
I confirmed it. I didn't
I
mention
think
it though.
Deadlift brought it up, and then
Deadlift. Everyone moves spots, okay? I don't know who's who anymore. Okay, someone brought that up. So that's like what, 0.002% of the population,
Yeah.
and we have. Does anybody know how much it's projected to spread? In our conversation earlier in the Discord group chat, Ahmed was talking about the waves. Apparently there's like waves of a pandemic, and it usually comes in threes. That's how it was for the previous two with, what was it, the like
Spanish flu in 1918 or something like that, and then the one before it in the mid to late 1800s, right?
something like that.
Yeah. I
So
can't remember.
what he was getting at was basically that the first two waves aren't as bad as the third, because by the time the third wave comes around, or at least he was saying, I didn't have a chance to look into it, the virus has evolved and it could affect more people. So if we're in the first wave right now, again, I don't know really how bad this is. I think they say what the flu affects like 1% of people, and the coronavirus affects like 3% in terms of mortality.
Yeah.
Well, so
Oh,
a
it's
lot
a
of these
significant increase in mortality.
Oh,
A lot of these numbers are really, really difficult to talk about because,
Yeah.
just like you were saying earlier, the number of confirmed cases in the world are drastically different than the number of existing cases in the world. Right?
Like, I mean, even just here in Ohio, for example, we have, 351 cases confirmed now. But it was said a while ago, like, I mean, maybe a week ago, that they expected that there was already 1% of our population, which is over 100,000 people,
Yeah.
already are infected and just didn't know. So, like, just
So
because there's a lot of people who haven't been tested yet.
And the reason they can say that with confidence is because when community spread exists, like when you cannot trace the subject 0 or whatever, then that means that there's community spread, which means that the virus is traveling from person to person when we don't know where it's coming from. And when community spread exists, then it is safe to assume that 1% of the population is infected. So for Ohio, 1% of our population is approximately 100,000 people.
I forgot that you live here also.
Yeah. So our director of health came out and said it is safe for us to assume there are 100,000 cases in Ohio, which means the 335,000 cases worldwide may not be anywhere near reflective of what actually is happening in the world.
Wait.
Wow.
There's 100,000 confirmed in Ohio, or they're expecting that
So
to
that's
happen?
what we're saying is when community spread exists, it is safe to assume that 1% is infected. And 1% would be 100,000.
Right, because we have like 11.69 million people in Ohio.
And to clarify, who is at risk here? Well, not of getting it, but of like dying. We have.
It's hard to say. People with pre-existing conditions, absolutely. In Italy, there are a lot of young people dying. So previously, we thought that a majority of the cases were the elderly, but there are people in their 20s all over Italy getting infected right now
And dying.
Now,
Whoa.
many of them have pre-existing conditions, which skews that number, but we can no longer safely say that only the elderly are at risk.
Yeah. Well, I know pre-existing conditions was a thing, like, in tandem with the elderly, but I never knew how far that extended. Are they...
Well, like emphysema or lung conditions, because one of the
Like
things that it
asthma,
causes
any of
is, asthma, absolutely. It causes lung infections. So the reason you're hearing people need respirators is all because it causes a lung infection, potentially, and that's what's deadly, especially if you already have some sort of lung condition. Or you're immunocompromised, right? So it's easier to, for the disease to take hold and give you something that's, that you can't really fight off.
Yeah, and on that, I wonder, like, to what extent it is then with, like, having lung things, because some people just have, like, weaker lungs. Like, I get bronchitis every single year, like clockwork. Sometimes twice a year I have bronchitis. I know that while I am not affected by it, I am a carrier of the genes for cystic fibrosis, which is also a lung thing. So, like, I wonder whether or not that puts me at risk, and there's just not the information out there for me to know.
Alright, so what you guys are saying is, if I huff paint every day, I'll be fine.
Basically.
Thank you.
I don't think that I
More or
said
less.
anything like that.
I want that on my tombstone. FinDiesel said it was okay to huff paint every day for coronavirus immunity.
That does not fit.
At
with my character.
soundcloud.gov, please. Thank you.
That's not my brand. Don't ask me.
Fair enough. Well, I appreciate the info from you two. Deadlift, Molly, Crash, do any of you want to chime in there?
I mean, the funny part is like, no, go ahead, Molly.
I was just gonna say, on top of whether, like, if you're younger and you're at higher or lower risk, there's going to be a lack of ventilators and other things that we need to take care of people. So even people who might not have otherwise have died or been severely affected from it, if we really hit that, like, peak point where we don't have enough supplies, we don't have enough healthcare workers, we don't have enough available hospital beds, then more people are gonna die who wouldn't have otherwise. And I think that's, like, a huge concern, on top of whether, like, I'm in a low risk category, but it's just going to overwhelm the system.
That is a big topic to touch on, and we are actually, I think, about to get into that in the next section. But definitely a good point. Deadlift?
No, I was going to say I have a pre-existing condition, but it's mainly asthma. And I have, you know, family, my friends are telling me, don't go outside, you know, because I like to go on walks every day. And let me tell you, like, it didn't bother me until like 2 days ago, and I was like, okay, I can't, I can't sit in the house. I can't sit in the house too goddamn long. So I will go on a little walk here and there, but there is no going in any big events or too many people. I haven't even been around my family, I think, since the beginning of March. So it's tough, but yeah, we are at risk, unfortunately. So.
You can go outside. That shouldn't
Oh,
be
no,
a
I
problem.
know. Oh, I know.
Okay, because like outside isn't where the thing is gonna get you. You know, you've got to get it from somebody or from a surface, and so like taking a walk is an activity that you can 100%
That's basically part of the
do.
problem. I've been trying to tell people. Yeah, I'm a homebody and I'm also introverted in a way, so I don't really need to be around big groups of people, like on a consistent basis. Pretty much, I just like to go on my walks. You already know I start to work out, so like even before the stream, I did some deadlifts. Funny enough. But as far as like my walks, I need to work. I need to work out. I need to walk. All these gyms are closed now too, so I'm like, thank God I have my own home gym because I would be banging my head on the wall if I didn't have something to do. But literally every couple hours, like mom's even calling me, like, don't go anywhere. I'm like, I'm just walking around the corner or going to the park and I'm coming right back. It's like literally one step away from my house. So, but there's a lot of unfortunate misinformation that I'm hoping, and I live in New York State, so I'm really hoping it doesn't get bad. But what I was bringing up earlier is I went to the grocery store, and you know, guy in front of me, he's like this, like had his shirt over his face.
Oh boy.
And again, every person that's working. So like, I went to a pharmacy. I did go to a grocery store in like a cheap dollar store or whatever. Everybody that's working either has like gloves or a mask on. That I understand, but you know, the whole like, this is not going to really do anything. Doing this away from me isn't really going to do anything. And the same people that are doing that, mind you, are the ones that are coughing, which upset me even more. So you have a mask on, you have the gloves on, you're the one that's coughing, sneezing, and in the most grotesque possible way. And then you're looking at me like I got you know, basically everybody's looking at everybody like they have AIDS. Like, there's no other way to really explain it. And it's unfortunate that the governor in New York State, thank God Cuomo, is taking care of things, because I'm telling you right now, if it ever became martial law out here, I'm going to some friends and family that have guns, because yeah, like New York is way too much of a mess for martial law to occur without something bad really happening. So
You think the people will?
Really?
This is kind of next section material, but I mean, do you really think, quick answer, that the people of New York would by and large rise up against martial law?
I think people will lose their goddamn minds. It's New York. Toxic behavior, toxic energy, toxic everything. But most importantly, no one likes to stay in the house in New York. As cold as it is usually, it's the springtime, so everybody's freaking out. One of my cousins even called me, oh, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I can't. I'm like, you only stayed in the house for 2 days. You've been out all week. I see you on your Snapchat. What are you talking about? But at some point, I think things will calm down. I just think right now, I don't even want to be around too many people because the level of paranoia makes me paranoid. The hysteria is almost contagious. I had to constantly remind myself, even going to these places I mentioned, even like in a pharmacy, I was trying to pick up some shampoo and conditioner. Woman jumps back like I'm doing something, you know, and I understand in terms of, you know, being overly cautious. But again, if you don't have a mask covering your face, honestly, gloves aren't really going to do much. Being overly cautious to the point where you're even being rude in some sense, it just kind of, like I said, it just builds a level of hysteria. Like everybody's acting that way. So I don't know. I'm just hoping it does die down at some point in a few weeks. But right now, it's a mess.
Okay. So firstly, the whole mask thing. I heard that it's not so much like you can get it from it falling on your skin, like saliva or respiratory droplets, as Coffin said in the chat. Is that the case, or do you have to breathe something in, or kind of just touch you?
Somebody else is gonna have to answer that one.
Finn?
You have to. So I'm pretty sure that it has to get into your nose or mouth. So they
That's
want you to
what I
wash your
thought,
hands
so.
all the time because you don't want to touch your face once you've got it on your hands. So
Basically, oh, I'm sorry.
Mucous membrane.
no, go ahead. Yeah,
So
Oh.
your body acts as like your skin acts as like a shield and it constantly sheds off. That's the point of it. So the reason you don't want to touch your face is because it's the easiest access to get into your body. Just like cuts and scabs, things like that. That's an easier way to get into your body.
yeah, like even your mouth is much better than your nose and your eyes are at preventing illness because like your mouth you put stuff in all the time. So like your body is
Damn
much
right I
more
do.
ready to stop whatever it is
My
that goes
body's
through
ready.
that cycle. But like your eyes, if it gets on your hands and you if you like get it on your nose or eyes, if you can easily breathe it in also, then you'll get it that way. But like on your arm, you're gonna be fine.
Okay.
You should wash it before.
Don't lick your arm.
Right, yeah. Don't lick your arm.
Why you
is
gotta
good
be a
advice in
buzzkill,
general.
Molly? I'm just trying to lick arms out here.
And the
Don't
thing
pick
is
your
that
nose. Don't pick your butt. Don't lick your arm.
right.
That's how we stop the virus. All right, Finn, thank you for weighing in on that because I honestly wasn't sure.
So the mask thing also, mask will help prevent you from spreading it, but it will not prevent others from getting it. So like coughing into the mask is better than coughing into the air, but you personally wearing a mask will not prevent it because again, if it gets in your hands and you touch your eyes, like this is the main thing is it will limit like the 6 foot radius to smaller than 6 feet because you're keeping those respiratory droplets from getting out into everyone else's business. So like even coughing into your sleeve is legitimately a good way to prevent spread a little bit. Like that's actually a good measure to take is to just kind of cough into your arm.
Yeah, which what I saw something a while ago that said like we shouldn't be acting like we don't want to get it. We should be just assuming that we have it and acting like we don't want to spread it.
That I think I like that. I feel like I could handle it, and I definitely don't want to hurt anybody else by giving it to them, so that makes sense to me. I mean, my life philosophy for a very long time has been like, if I die, I die. It happens. But at the same time, we shouldn't spread our internal philosophies onto others, especially when they're that severe. Okay, so thank you for weighing in there, guys. Let's move on to testing, treatment, and cures. Does anyone want to start that off?
Kind of. Can I start it somewhere almost else? That's in the same, like, it's tangential. So about, like, we were talking about it earlier, but about spreading out the curve, right? So the idea that, like, our main strategy right now, aside from, like, developing actual, vaccination, is what we need to do is we need to limit the spread so to not stress the hospitals. Because like even in the worst case scenario, like we're planning, like we might spread this to the entire world. Everyone might get it at some point, but that's not even the worst case scenario. It's how quickly are people getting it and how quickly do they need medical attention. So like if I can sit in my house for a month and get it a month later, then the hospitals will have a bed for me that they will not if we all go in today, right? So like just like the toilet paper aisle at the grocery store, you don't want that to happen to the hospitals. You don't want it so that more people show up than they can treat, so that they have to decide who gets treatment right now. Then that extends far beyond this virus, because if you break your leg and you come to the hospital and all the beds are taken up by people who have coronavirus, then you might suffer from having a broken leg because the hospitals are overwhelmed. So like priority one is to make sure that the number of people who go to the hospital is spread out over a much longer period of time, so that other people can have recovered and they don't need their ventilator anymore, and they don't need their hospital bed anymore, and we don't need 17,000 patients per doctor and nurse. You know, the whole plan, number one thing, is limiting our spread as much as we can so that we don't overwhelm our hospitals that are not very well stocked and staffed at all.
Makes sense. I would like to hear from Deadlift and Molly about that first, if they have any input.
Yeah, throw that back at me. I was just responding back to what Crash said.
Just assuring we don't overwhelm the hospitals with everybody getting sick, because again, we have people who might get sick more severely than others, and we have people who have medical conditions that have nothing to do with it, and we're in a position where our healthcare system is getting easily overloaded across the board.
I actually want to throw something funny about that. You know, there's people out here buying an over excessive amount of masks to the point where hospitals are almost limiting the amount you can receive. And it's funny because I have my own business that we pretty much sell products off Amazon, and it even came up in a discussion like, you know, we should sell this and that. I'm like, listen, even if you want to legally, someone's gonna eventually put a stop on that. So if you were to buy, let's say, masks, sanitizer, toilet paper, and then sell them on Amazon, right? Within a week, your county and the judge is going to put in a law saying you can't do that because everyone's being over excessive on pricing. So they're basically trying to charge you, because it's in dire need, like a mask for $70 to $120. I'm not joking about that either. So they've even made certain laws about that at some point. So it's just a funny thing as far as you know, what Finn was bringing up about, you know, us being in need because people are taking advantage of the situation, and making sure, you know, all these medical supplies, this is what people are looking for. Let's make sure we can make a quick buck on that. And it's sad that that's going on, but I understand from a capitalist mentality, it's just not the time for that, honestly.
Okay. I will address that in the next section, yeah. Mr. Chips. Thank you for weighing in.
Yeah.
Hurting me. Molly, did you have anything to add to that?
No, I think what Finn said echoes everything that I was thinking about it. So.
Do you have any?
I would.
Can you give us a structured plan to organize our entire healthcare system?
So, honestly, I think that
you don't have to do that.
I was ready to go. The healthcare. I was in an MBA program. It was a healthcare MBA program.
Oh, do it! Yeah, if you can.
But I learned
please.
some shit.
Okay.
No, I don't. No, I'm fronting.
Oh. Okay. I played myself.
What? Are you familiar with Sarah Cliff?
I'm not.
No.
She's a healthcare professional who now works for the New York Times investigative journalism team.
Professioner, even.
Awesome. Professioner. I had my R's and L's since I was a child. Did we talk about this last time?
That means she's extra professioner.
I had a THS problem.
Yeah, R's. I'll still Sam's.
I'm gonna look her up though.
Look, Bon, you better get yours in line over here, Bon.
Yeah, no, that's how I would say it as a child.
Woo. As not a baby, a child though. Just being clear here. Okay, Crash, did you have anything? Stop.
What?
Did you have anything to add, Crash?
Not particularly, other than the fact that from my workplace at the school district, I wanted to cover this earlier and I totally missed the chance, but do we know about like a contagion period without like before you show symptoms? Because I don't know if we covered that.
Up to 2 weeks.
Right, so you can be infected for up to 2 weeks without even showing symptoms?
Correct.
Right, okay. I just wanted to bring that up.
That's super important to bring up, which is why it's, like Sierra said earlier, it's safe to pretend like you have it already to prevent giving it to someone else, is because, like, you may have it for 2 weeks and be spreading it and not giving it to anyone else. I think so. The incubation period is 2 weeks. The contagion period might be slightly shorter than that, but I don't think significantly.
Now, there is a part of the population who is immune, or no? No one's
I've been told that there is no immunity to this. Okay. It is new. None of us have ever seen it before. And so, like, that's part of the reason that we're kind of scared, is because all of us are susceptible. Unless, like, there are some people who have, like, you know, there are people who have strange DNA, right? That like behaves in a way, but it
There
would
are
be like
X-Men
a
among
one-off.
us.
Yes, there may be an X-Men who is completely immune to this, but so far as we know, no.
Okay, so here's what we're gonna do, guys. We're gonna get into the next topic, which is societal impact, and we're gonna do a chat break after the second topic. The first one is going to be xenophobia and racism. Would anyone like to pick up on that? We have Trump out here calling it the Chinese virus. I was just talking on Sierra's show about content creator culture she was having, and I was saying like things like intent and context are important. I defended Trump when he said, not defended him because I think a border wall is fucking stupid, but I defended the notion that I didn't think he was racist just for saying I want to build a wall. I could see the implications. I get it. I get a completely different vibe with this China virus thing because we already have 2 names for it, and Trump has been bashing China since before he got in office. And I got really bad vibes when he says shit like that. But can I necessarily quantify it? The virus did, as far as we know, originate in China. So can we give him a pass for saying the China virus? What do you guys think?
COVID-19 or coronavirus. Like we already, like you said, there's already 2 names for it that aren't racist and don't like make people feel weird about any like xenophobic vibes. Like there's already people out here who are like, I won't eat Chinese food because I'm gonna get the virus, and I'm like, all right.
Don't get me started on that.
All right, Billy, whatever you say, man. Like it's completely ridiculous, and all he's doing is perpetuating it. He's been trying to make us fear or hate China for the entire time that he's been in office, and this is just another way to perpetuate that. He can call it COVID-19. He can call it coronavirus. He can call it the pandemic that's sweeping the nation. He does not have to say the China virus or the Chinese virus or whatever the fuck he's saying, because that's it. He's not even saying the China virus. He's saying Chinese virus.
Okay, there you go.
Like, which makes it worse, because it's from China. It's the China virus. He's saying Chinese, which is a race, and it's like, to me, I think that's worse even. I hate it. I hate it so much.
I think that's a surprisingly good point. That's not
1
something I would
second.
normally buy into. I like that.
Oh, wait, what was the good point, Finn?
That the nuance between Chinese and China.
Oh.
I think that's a point that initially I was not ready to accept, and I actually think it's kind of good.
Yeah, I would agree. I fucked up the names there, and there is a bearing on our phrasing here. I just want to bring up for this conversation stuff like Spanish flu. Like, can we dismiss one and accept the other, or just throwing it out there?
Sure. So I think this is the interesting back and forth. I think because those are the 2 sides that people seem to take on this issue. Is one, like, yeah, we name diseases after places all the time, and 2, like, we already have a name for this, so giving it a virus that is named after the place it comes from is intentionally being xenophobic. And I think this is a thing that maybe isn't Trump being racist, or xenophobic, but instead Trump intentionally trying to incite xenophobia and racism in the people that already exists. But I think that maybe the nuance there is subtle, but I think that it's not like Trump's getting up there and as a racist person is accidentally or intentionally making a racist comment, more than I think he's like, I think if we call it this, then the reaction that people will get from that is more important. That, you know, it's tactical more than it is just empty racism or something like that.
Also, the Spanish flu was in what, 1910s or something. Like,
sure. So you're saying that it was
a different
racist,
time.
just racism was fine?
Well,
I
no
don't
one
know
was
if it
racist in
or wasn't,
1910.
but, like,
We know
yeah,
this.
No, I'm just saying, like, it was a totally different time, and so I don't know if we can hold standards today by what was.
Sure. So, but you're saying by
okay
modern
then.
standards, calling it the Spanish flu was also racist?
I don't know. I would have to look more into it because I mean,
But
so
that's
for one,
the
it's not even. Sorry,
But
go
that's
ahead.
the root of what you're saying is like that.
Yeah.
It's not that this is a different context. than that. It's that this is the same thing as that, just everyone was racist then, right?
Right, like it may have been racist, it may not have been racist. I don't know enough about it to say, but I know that the times were different then. So what may have been considered acceptable, and they might have been like, "Oh, it's okay," because the times were different. We can't say
what
that
about
that's
like
okay
West
to do
Nile?
today.
West Nile's a location, right?
The West
And it's not really a
Nilese are
people.
good people, okay?
Well, but I mean, it's literally west of the Nile, right?
Yeah.
It's Egypt,
Yeah,
or
I believe. Oh no, wait.
because
It's
I think west of the Nile is Egypt.
But again, it's like I think Slip just said, West Nile is not a people. So again, I think we would be having a slightly different conversation if Trump was saying the China virus versus the Chinese virus.
that could be incidental though. I think might be
I
what
agree.
Finn's getting
That's
at.
well, and that's why initially I was not gonna take your point, because I was like, who knows if he meant China versus Chinese and just wrote something. I sent a message. Did you see the message I sent into the Discord? I should probably put that somewhere else.
On the Discord.
I don't have
I do
Discord
not.
open
Okay,
except for
well, there
the
isn't-
cameras.
There is an actual photo that has been confirmed by
shit.
multiple news sources of Trump's speech where he crossed out the word corona and wrote the word Chinese in Sharpie on top of it.
Like that's an intentional thing.
And that's why I'm saying when we're talking about intent, like there is clear intent when you edited the speech someone else wrote for you to rephrase it this way, right? Like I think that is really what we should be talking about, is because you lose the benefit of the doubt when you do this.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I will say I saw something today on Facebook. It was quoted but not sourced. He said he saw it in the Daily Beast when I asked him for a source, but basically paraphrased, it was Steve Bannon before he got like all that shit. He was saying like, if we could focus this upcoming election and make it all about identity politics and race, then we have it in the bag for Trump. And then he put at the bottom, my friend who posted it was like, that's why Trump is calling this the Chinese virus.
There's potential there. It's hard to say because that's not confirmed. But Steve Bannon, Steve Bannon has like his entire life's work is trying to create a war between like his vision of the West and the Muslim world. That's like Steve Bannon's #1 goal. There are documentaries he's made on it. It's like that's all that he wants to do in life. So I am by no means surprised that Stephen Bannon wants to do that, but I don't know how huge an impact that would necessarily have on like this specific thing, especially because he's sort of been ousted, right?
Yeah.
But like, yeah, racism and Steve Bannon like actually go hand in hand. And I'm someone who walks very carefully before I say something like that, but I legitimately watched one of his documentaries that tries to incite you to like go make war with the Middle East. It's like no joke.
Can I
Steve
throw out a
Bannon's
question
right
to
there.
everyone really quick?
Sure thing.
So, just based on the name, the coronavirus, how many of you how many of you believe that the beer Corona causes the coronavirus?
No one
course.
does. Put your hand
Right.
down, sir.
Don't
So
lie.
many-
No, you get it by eating Corona beers. You have to eat the beer and Chinese food at the same exact
Boil it
time.
all.
When they combine
it.
in your body, you then turn into a sun enclosed by a moon. It
Yeah,
happens.
actually, the way to avoid getting the coronavirus is just eating your weight in lime.
Eating your weight in line?
Yeah,
I like that.
limes, because like
Mhm.
corona.
Oh, shit. No,
You get it?
I don't get it because I have glucose issues and I can't eat limes. Thank you. I'd
Well,
appreciate
then you're
it.
doomed.
I like limes. Alright, so guys, just to be clear, you're not getting the virus from food unless someone sneezes on your food or your beverages. I don't know. Crash, did you have
Yeah.
a follow-up
I
for
swear
that?
I had more point to this.
Okay.
How many of you believe that we'll say everyone here is American, I'm pretty sure?
In the
Right.
panel?
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean,
So, how many of you believe that almost anyone in America believes the virus comes from Corona beer?
I guarantee you some people do.
I
Right,
would
but it cannot be that much.
I
It's
would
probably
say
a small percentage.
I'd say at least 5% of the adult population.
God, I hope not. But you're right. You're absolutely right. I bet it's in the 30s.
So if we said 5% stopped buying Corona beers, it would probably be a significant impact. But if you look into a ton of pictures of stores, their entire, like, all of those cases are still there.
That's what's on the shelf.
Right. It's not because people believe that this is causing Corona. It's because they're now associated with the same name. Like, the name coronavirus is now associated just by having the same name with this beer. And that is what I wanted to roll this back to. That is what Trump is possibly intentionally trying to do with naming it the Chinese virus, is then building an association, it's just based on locale.
He's not racist. He was paid by Corona. That's what happened.
There it is.
Truth cometh out.
I don't even like to go out in the sun anymore because the Corona is just
Oh
like
my
reminding
God.
me of the virus. And so I just have to like run back inside.
Coronas
It's awful.
are... Wait, can we clarify something here? I don't know. Is a corona just on the sun, like the outer light ring, or does it have to be an eclipse of some sort for that to occur?
No, it's just the outer light ring.
Okay.
I think it's visible, yeah. I don't know if you can see it at all times, but because like sometimes the sun is just like a clean circle, but if you can see like a ring around it at all, I think that's a corona.
Wait, McTravdad just said they've offered a $15 million award to change virus name to Bud Light virus. They did not. McTravdad, tell me you're full of shit right now. You drop a source. What? That's amazing.
Don't give us a source. Leave it to mystery.
Look, as long as y'all leave Yingling out of this, we good.
Make him Google it.
Jesus. So I had bringing it back to like
PPR virus.
that's fair. That's more like Flocka type effects than just getting sick. I do want to take it back, make it a bit more serious, because I heard very, like, disconcerting shit in terms of the xenophobia and racism aspect. Like, I don't know if people are scared of this happening or if it's actually happening, but I hear Trump and people who, like, associate the coronavirus with Chinese or East Asian or any given group or ethnicity that can be, they're promoting violence towards these people. Have any of you in chat or here heard of an uptick in violence perpetrated towards the Asian community or any other one due to this virus?
I mean, on social media maybe, but I haven't seen it personally.
Yeah, I mean, I have a
I've
friend on
not-
Facebook.
Same.
I've not heard any physical violence. I mean, I've heard definite like xenophobia and avoidance and things like that, but I've not seen or really even heard much about like physical violence.
Yeah, I haven't seen that either. But a friend of mine was like, yeah, I was at the store and I saw a woman and she went like this and walked away as soon as she saw that I was Asian. And he's been shopping at Asian markets now. He's like starting to, he's adopted, but he's been in America his entire like conscious life and, has almost no connection to his, Asian roots. And he just is treated like, he's infected.
It's interesting because there's a lot of Latina people who felt that way right after Trump got elected and like kind of ran on a like the Mexicans are bad sort of platform, and now we've got the coronavirus and he's perpetuating this like it's the Chinese virus, the Chinese virus, the Chinese virus, and now people are avoiding Chinese people or all Asian people the same way that they were previously avoiding Latinas or thinking less of.
I
feel like Trump is just like going in on the race wars.
You're right. He plays the race card whether he does it like in an, I wouldn't say inadvertent, but like roundabout manner or not, and sometimes very directly.
Well, I think it's strategic.
Yeah,
think
I
that-
agree. It's gross. As I know you agree as well. That's why, and I'll say this here because it's Soulspeak, not Soulspeak Light. I want to stress that I personally feel we need to chill the fuck out with identity politics just a little bit, because that adds fuel to the Trump fire of being able to harness support in that manner. A lot of
but
it.
I think that he brings a lot of it out. Like
Yeah.
people who maybe previously were more chill about it and maybe had their opinions, but it wasn't a big deal. He like validates those people.
That, yes.
Gives them kind of something to stand on.
That I agree with 100%, unfortunately. Molly, crash, deadlift.
Sorry.
No, don't apologize. You good? You good? No one? Alright, fair enough. I guess
No, yeah, I was like,
that's okay. We can move on to the CDC, the World Health Organization, and the impact of world leaders across the board. So, from what I've heard, America declined the World Health Organization test kits. Is that true? Because we wanted to develop it in-house with the CDC?
To the best of my knowledge, that is true.
What is the motivation for that?
I don't know. I mean, in 2018, we also cut CDC funding by 80% or something like that.
80%?
Yeah, I'll have to find the resource. But yeah.
Let me guess, we increased military and police spending all the while.
I don't know. We've been diverting military budget to the wall for a while. I'm sure that some money
Oh
probably
my
went
god.
there.
Wait, the wall's still happening?
Oh, we're constantly taking money from the military budget and putting it into the wall. Like, we put millions and millions of dollars in, yeah.
I will say this, as much as I hate the idea of a wall and I hate the hoops we have to go through for immigration, I like the idea in principle that we focus more on defense than sending people out overseas. I think maybe that's a silver lining.
It's the same budget. When they say the defense budget, they just mean military budget.
Yep.
Defense spending includes buying new choppers, tanks, and...
That's what I mean. I'm hoping that if we build a stupid, dumb, fucking wall, it at least diverts money from flying drones over foreign nations.
From all that war we have with Mexico?
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. Like, we have military base... Well, alright, this is gonna go way off topic. I'm saying that now.
Like, a wall being a physical border with a place that we never go to war with probably won't limit our drone strikes in foreign nations.
But if we don't have the money, unless we're pumping more money into it to make up for it.
You're saying use the money to drain our military spending so we don't have it anymore, so that we can't spend it blowing stuff up? No, that budget will stay in, like, full, just it will come from other places. So, like, we'll cut education further. We'll cut, it's discretionary spending. So that portion of the budget, we decide, like, Congress decides each year how they want to split up. When they talk about splitting up the budget, they're talking about discretionary spending, because mandatory spending can't be changed.
Oh my
That's
god.
like Social Security, stuff like that. So yeah, no, that's gonna keep happening.
This is
That's
a
just the way we
lose-lose now. Okay, fair enough. Thanks for elucidating that. Shattered dreams. So we said fuck off to the World Health Organization, and it seems the CDC, do we even have testing going on? Is that a thing yet? Like, in the
We have
US,
tests.
by and large? In your
Yeah, we
area,
don't have
you
enough.
do.
Well, what they're doing first is they're not testing for the virus primarily. Because we are so limited on tests, what we're first doing is we're giving you another test that tests for 8 other things. Different kinds of flus, typically. And then if you test positive for any one of those 8 things, it's pretty much guaranteed that you don't have coronavirus. So since we are so limited on coronavirus testing, we are instead first giving you this initial test that's like, well, try to test positive for this first, and if you do, then you don't have to worry. So because we're down so many tests, but we still don't have nearly enough tests.
Fair enough. And then there's always, well, I presume even if we do get that like second and third wave going on, the tests would still work for that. I'd hope it wouldn't evolve too much to be like indiscernible.
Yeah, and this is more me speculating than it is me like regurgitating data, but I think that at a certain point we're not going to be so short on supply anymore of a lot of things. Hospital beds we're probably not going to buy more of, but like ventilators are something that we can make. Just it takes like a huge shift in our industrial economy to do it, right? So like they're complex materials, but we can convert a car factory into making ventilators. But like right now, Ford's not set up to do that, and until they like make the shift and start doing it, we're short. So like by the time the third wave of the virus gets here, ideally we have converted some of our industrial manufacturing facilities to make the things that we need so that we are prepared for it when it comes. This is one of those things that, like, had we been more prepared up until this point, we would not need to be as concerned or taking as drastic measures as we are. But we ignored it for months. We declined testing. We suppressed information, right? We have multiple senators who got briefed on this in confidence, who dumped millions in dollars of stock and said, hey, America, you're going to be fine.
What?
Oh, yeah. Dude, all the articles right now, there are like 4 different senators. There's there are a lot of very high up people who dumped millions and millions and millions of dollars in stock right before they said, Americans, you don't have to worry about this.
Let's be 100% clear here for anyone who might not grasp it, including myself. That's why I'm going to say it out. Let me know if I'm right or wrong here. You're saying these senators, instead of taking action for their constituents, us, they decided to go behind everyone's back and use this as an opportunity to make money off of our ignorance.
It was more to not lose money off of our ignorance, yes. But like they knew that this virus is going to be so bad that our stock market was going to crash. And so they sold their stock before it crashed and then told the American people it was going to be fine. Kelly Loeffler, she was one of the biggest ones. There was Dianne Feinstein, who is a big name. She was more recently came out. Inhofe from Oklahoma and Burr from North Carolina all sold their stock right after they got a coronavirus briefing. And after that briefing, they then also told, this was on January 24th that they got a briefing. And it was enough that made these 4 senators dump all of their stock. And that was in January. This is still very new to us right now. It was not new to us.
Wow. Yes, Kayla, I'm glad you said that. Inside trading. I mean, does it technically fit that bill? I don't know. I think that is sort of inside info, though, to an extent.
Everything I've been seeing has said that, like, as to asking them to resign, and I don't understand that because it strikes me as insider trading. So I'm guessing there's something that I don't understand about it that makes it not quite insider trading. But because if it were insider trading, then it wouldn't be these people need to resign. It would be like arrest these people and take them to prison because that is like a serious crime they've committed.
That's almost like treason, no?
Well, I mean, you might be able to consider. You got a hard case to prove.
If they're holding,
Martha Stewart went to jail for this, right? This is what Martha Stewart went to prison for, essentially. So, like, I don't understand why this doesn't count, but people aren't treating it like it does. So, I don't know.
Did their selling of stocks delay them in any way in action to take on the coronavirus in their respective areas?
I don't think so.
Okay. I guess it's a bit different.
So here, this article says that sales raised questions about whether the senators violated the Stock Act, a law that bans members of Congress from making financial trades based on non-public information. So it's up in the air, but it's not been determined yet, I guess.
Google says insider trading is the illegal practice of trading on the stock exchange to one's own advantage through having access to confidential information.
So they call it non-public in this case,
Ooh.
Where there might be a difference between confidential and non-public, right? Because it's not information they're not allowed to give us. It's just information that they have received in confidence and haven't necessarily given it to the public yet. Because I think that they would probably be in trouble if they kept information like this actually confidential, right? If they classified this information, that would be a serious cover-up. I highly doubt that they made this information completely inaccessible to the public. They just didn't divulge it to the public immediately.
Privileged, maybe, is a good word.
Yeah, I think so. Like, not legally privileged, just like we hadn't told everybody yet. More than like, okay, we need to redact that, like scratch that out, put this in a file, hide it in the basement. This is confidential information. There's a difference between those things.
All right. Finn, I'll definitely be looking into this a bit more after the show. I'd like to ask everyone on the panel and everyone in chat, what do you think morally and legally? A yes or a no? Like, should they be going to jail? Are they fine in terms of the law? Was it okay for them to do, or is that real fucked up? Anyone wants?
I think the main issue for, like, the difference is, like, their intent to do this. They took information that had not been released to the public yet and used it to benefit themselves, which is their intent. So the difference is how the fact they got the information before, which is technically not illegal. That's weird. I'd still say that the intent is that they tried to get ahead before everybody else and save their own skins. So I'd say,
and I mean it's like Finn said, it's like people have gone to jail for this before. Like why is it not mattering now?
That's fair.
I mean, it sounds like there's even an act of Congress that says, right? Because it's whatever the article I read before said something about the Stock Act, which they're in violation of, which makes some sort of distinction. The existence of a Stock Act implies that somehow this is different from insider trading. Or it would just be insider trading. We've already got a rule for that, you know? That's my guess, but I don't know.
Deadlift?
Honestly, I think the funniest. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Making sure. I think the funniest thing about it is, as far as trading goes, this is probably. You guys remember the Bernie Madoff situation? Maybe you do, maybe you don't.
Yes.
I remember if it was like 08 or 09. I mean, this was like almost a decade ago before Obama did the bailout. So I'm not surprised. It happens all the time with anybody that's unfortunately big into politics or a billionaire, really. They always have insider trading. The difference is when it's big calamities or I want to say events that are catastrophic in some nature. They have a tendency, somebody either takes advantage of the general populace or they don't, which is funny because you technically can take advantage of the situation if you understand how the markets work. So in reverse, I've made money because I understand how the markets work already as far as the stock. So even though there's certain places that your money's going down, there's other companies where your money's going up. So I made money regardless. But
Nice. All right. Molly?
Echo what Crash said. Just like they took information that was confidential to them in their roles as Congress members, used it to make a trade decision, which based on the information we have seems to fit the definition of insider trading. I'm too pessimistic to think that they'll actually get punished for it, but like I think that they broke the law and they should face what you face for that. So
I hear
I
that.
don't think they will.
Yeah, Coffin seems to share that sentiment, and I'm inclined to as well. It's unfortunate, but we'll see how it plays out, I guess. Alright, guys, we're gonna open up chat now, even though we're still in the middle of the section, but we have a pretty big one coming up. That's gonna be public and political reception alongside government role, economy, and our rights. So, yeah, before we dive into that, I'd like, if anyone has questions or comments from what we've discussed so far, please throw them out there. I'll be scrolling up through chat a little bit. In the interim, if anyone on the panel would like to discuss anything we've went over so far, then please feel free to do so. They should be.
I do want to say one thing really quickly that I forgot earlier. The thing can live on surfaces for up to 2 days, depending on the surface. So,
They
like
can?
Lysol wipe stuff. Yeah, it depends what it is.
I've heard up to 3 days, but I don't have a confirmation on that. But that's from the school district, which works for the government.
And it depends on the material. So, like, copper is pretty good at killing stuff. So, like, copper's less than a day. But, like, plastics, porous stuff, it can survive for quite a while. Like, wood surfaces, that, So, like, Lysol wiping stuff is like, legit.
Oh.
And don't do it swirling motion. Wipe it all in one direction. That is more. Otherwise, you could just be spreading it around if you miss it. Wipe it in one direction and wipe it off the edge.
I didn't
Don't
know
do
that.
Do that. Wait. Do this. that was my hot demo right there.
I'm glad you shared that because I had no idea about that. I
So,
always
like-
thought circles were like good.
Like,
And
it's
the
totally,
I
surfaces.
thought the same too, but yeah.
it's totally legitimate to open a door with a glove on, or with your sleeve, or with like, it is
Your
touching
penis.
surfaces. It's not recommended to open a doorknob with your penis, but
I mean,
That's gonna be a sound effect. That's gonna be a sound. Someone. That's
You
a-
attach like those pincers to it, or like some tongs maybe,
no,
but
please
not
don't.
directly with the penis.
But seriously, wiping surfaces is like a legitimate thing, and like if multiple people touch it, like it is okay. This is the thing that you want to be overtly cautious about, right? Buying toilet paper is an overreaction that is no good. Wiping down surfaces, refusing to shake someone's hand is like maybe rude, but like legitimately a good idea right now.
I was gonna say, who else is doing the elbow bump?
yeah,
For
elbow
real.
taps.
Those are like legitimately good things. It's remarkable to suggest, but like elbow bumping saves lives.
I saw two people at a store today. I ain't even gonna lie. I won't say what store it is, but I saw two people. They're like, "Oh my god, I haven't seen you in such a long time." Not only did they do one of the hand slaps with the snaps, but they then went in for a hug. And I was like, no, not like, I'm glad you guys are out talking to each
Not
other
like
to a
this.
degree, maybe, but you don't gotta get that
I mean, that's
close.
a habit on my end, so just stopping that's been really tough, to be honest. That's what I was coming to you, and I'm like, yeah, you gotta do the elbow
And
taps.
honestly, like again, it's
At least you do
you're,
it.
you're not gonna get it while it's on your hands. So like, well, then the hugging is a stretch. Like shaking someone's hand and then immediately washing your hands before you like touch your face or lick your hands or whatever weird things you might be doing. You know, you're still probably gonna be okay. Now, like again, is limiting. Making it as possible as doing everything you can to make sure that you're not spreading it to one person to another. I'm not recommending shaking hands, but like washing your hands after you shake hands before you touch your face is still a good measure.
I agree. I forgot to bring this up. Is it true hand sanitizer, unless it's like specialized, is not very effective against viruses?
Yes.
Oh,
Yep.
that makes a lot of
But
sense.
it's better. It isn't. But and also, if you're gonna use it, you should wash your hands first, regardless. Otherwise, you're just kind of. But yeah, they're generally antibacterial, antiviral.
Right.
So, but still.
Finn, I don't like the way you're saying that. What's going on here?
No, that's just so smart. Like
Oh,
I didn't
okay.
think about that, but that's something that makes a ton of sense.
I had no idea until like I did some research on the virus, and like I don't know why that's not more commonly posted places. Sierra, you're gonna infect
Nice.
everybody.
No, she into the elbow. She
I
nailed it.
look.
She did
Having a hard
exactly.
I'm taking that elbow skin later.
Also, sneezing is not a symptom. Sneezing is in like
coughing, you're
almost
not
no
sneezing.
cases a symptom. So like,
My
do not be
coughing
afraid of sneezing.
typically sounds like sneezing, but I'm not sneezing. I am coughing.
And
It
your
happens.
cough
You
would
can't
be very
breathe.
dry.
You can't even breathe without somebody giving you a. I'm like, because I've asthma. Somebody goes, like,
Got-
excuse me, I'm breathing. God damn.
So fever and coughing are the two symptoms, and this one's very important because it's something that I don't think a lot of people know and a lot of people do in their everyday life is non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, NSAIDs, aggravate the disease. So ibuprofen, Aleve.
See, I heard that was a myth. I heard that guy.
Oh,
that
did
wasn't
they?
actually true.
God, that's something I need to look into.
Yeah,
But
because I had a
Tylenol is supposed to be
friend-
the thing.
Yeah, I had a friend who took ibuprofen for something, and she's like, "Well, I just read that this aggravates it. That sucks because I just took ibuprofen." And then someone posted a different source and was like, "Actually, that's not true."
Okay, it
So I'm not
says
sure.
it says like it's probably okay. So it looks like this is one that has been since.
See, this is the funny thing about this shit, because everyone's like, I'm so sick of hearing about it, or don't talk about that here. Like, but there's so much misinformation and so much information we just don't
Well,
know.
And I don't
Like-
even know. Yeah, this is in the latter field. I think one of those things they were like, "Hey, this might be a problem, avoid it for a second. And then they were like, hey, it's not a problem.
Like,
And
yeah, never mind, we figured it out.
I didn't get the update. So that's my fault. I'm
It's
the one spreading misinformation, not the original article.
Look, I'm not trying to defend people for being misinformed and shit. I mean, I do it all the time. But like you said, new information keeps coming out. We could have another one of these episodes a week from now and probably have completely different shit going on in some areas. So yeah, it's important to stay up to date. To a degree, I mean, we don't need to go crazy over it. Yelling at deadlift for breathing. I like doing that anyway in my spare time, but not because of the virus.
So an article from 2 days ago says the FDA says there's not enough scientific evidence to link the use of NSAIDs to worsening symptoms of COVID-19.
Okay, that's what's up. Any of the symptoms though, can it exacerbate?
Yeah, probably. I mean, it would still help you with things like aching, right? Anti-inflammatory. This is the kind of drug you take when you have aches and pains. So if you've got aches, which is a secondary symptom of COVID-19, then yeah, I mean, taking them would help, actually.
Hold on. Coffin said, for real, do not freak out about, like, buying stuff. Worry about the people coughing in you. Don't. That might have been a typo, but I would like to back that up. When people cough inside of you, you might want to wash your hands a little bit. I don't know. I'm throwing it out there. That's
Cough inside of you. Like, I'm offended by the idea.
okay.
The concept has offended me.
I'm kind of into it. It seems freaky. I'm about it. We'll try it out. Get those frequencies going.
I coughed into that jar before I sent it to you, so.
Oh my god, mi amore. Who Energetic called shopping carts buggies, and we're gonna ban her from chat very quick.
Ew.
Yeah, you don't do that, Energetic. You've been warned.
I've never heard it before, but I liked it. I kind of want to borrow that.
No, it's
British or something.
It's Nick Omega, can you confirm? Is that a British thing? Buggies for carts?
Bumper carts.
No. Nick said buy isopropyl, alcohol, and glycerin and make your own hand sanitizer. Yo, you right though. You right. There's a lot of DIY methods to making good shit, and I'm curious, like, why wasn't more high proof alcohol bought? Like, from what I heard from a few of my friends, the shelves were like still stocked with alcohol. You could use that shit to sanitize to a degree.
Our liquor store down the street has been, you can't go in there without it being absolutely packed, like a line winding around everything. Like, there's so many fucking people in that
Are these
store.
enthusiastic drinkers, or are these people using it for cleaning?
I don't know. There's normally not that many people in the liquor store. I can usually walk in, buy a bottle of tequila, and walk out like pretty quickly. But like right now, it's not an option. And I don't know if it's for drinking or for sanitization purposes, but they're buying a lot of liquor.
Is it like that for anyone else? A lot of liquor gone or packed stores? I saw Molly's eyes move, and it made me...
Our store is, so they deemed the liquor store as essential, but they put like barriers at the entrance, and so you can only step in the front, and they have these signs everywhere. Do not touch anything! Ask an employee and they will bring you stuff. And then they weren't wearing gloves, and I was like, guys. Anyway, but that's a thing that is happening in our liquor stores.
I guess I don't know where the nearest liquor store is here. I was just talking about the one inside my grocery store.
Gotcha.
Oh, yeah. And I
Like
live in
the giant
Oregon,
liquor store.
so we can't buy liquor from a grocery store. We have to go to special liquor stores. It close at 7 p.m.
That's how it is in Jersey, too.
Yeah.
Not Florida, though.
Yeah, I don't like it. And people
I don't like that
our
either.
gas, too.
I don't like that.
What do they do?
I just said they pump our gas here, too.
Oh, they do that in Jersey
Oregon and
also.
Jersey,
yeah.
yeah.
Why
Yeah.
Oregon?
Yeah.
Alright, well, whatever.
Oregon.
Oregon.
Jersey is because you don't want to get out of your car. 'cause the whole state
Oregon!
smells like
Oregon.
The state is Oregon. The train is Oregon.
Excuse me, I played the Oregon Trail
I
when
bet
I
you
was a
say
young one.
Nevada, too.
Nevada!
Nevada.
Nevada!
No!
Nevada.
Deadlift,
Coast
help me out
people!
here, man.
West Coast people, help me!
No.
How are you supposed to
Definitely
say it?
Nevada.
It's just Nevada.
No.
Say it flat.
That's like,
Louisville.
I say Nevada.
don't fucking
Well,
say that, Finn. Don't do that.
People
You're
don't
taking
What did
like
he
it.
say?
That's
Did
how
he
you
say
say it.
Coopin again? Because I swear to God.
No, I
I'm
said
from
Louisville.
Nevada. It's Nevada. And if you go to say Nevada, people get like,
Okay, that's good to know.
not that it doesn't, it's completely irrelevant. I've gone.
Arkansas.
Don't start with Arkansas, please.
Missouri.
Look,
Missouri.
don't.
America explain.
Mississippi.
Someone very close to me recently asked me if Kansas and Arkansas were two different places, and I don't want to talk about it.
Turns out they're not. There's
They're-
actually a portal
This
in the
is
center that
Kansas
leads you
and
under
this
the
is
other.
not
Oh my
Kansas.
God.
Why?
And there's actually an
Guys are
arc
making my
between them.
chest hurt.
No,
What?
that's why
Oh
it's
my
called
God.
Arkansas. There is an arc between Kansas
Stop
and
it,
Arkansas.
Finn! Take your coupons and get out of here.
Portal through space and time.
Guys,
Like-
we're letting CrashedStarling
Yeah.
down pretty hard right now. I can see
Oh,
it
I
in his
apologize.
face. We got alright. I haven't seen anything in chat yet, like a pertinent question, unless I'm missing it. I could very well be. I'm not the greatest at reading, thanks to my old preschool teacher. I won't name who that is. We got... Didn't mean the hidden ass there. What? What am I even reading right now? I don't even know what I'm reading.
My Kansas.
People need to quit hoarding shit, otherwise the rest of us have nothing when we go. Okay, you know what? Pooferstein, with that said, we are going to segue into public and political reception, and we're going to pair that with government role, economy, and rights. So, one of the first things I think we can all see happening in here is the panic buying. Holy shit. Toilet paper, hand sanitizer, everything else. So, there's an interesting paradigm here. There's the price gouging assholes who buy up a bunch of stuff and want to sell it back to people at like quadruple the cost. But then there's the stores and other suppliers who can't keep up with demand. And I am going to contend that maybe there is good reason to lift prices. I would go a step further and say it would be nice if maybe a corporation or company would help people out who seriously don't have the money. But I'll also just posit, like, if a roll of toilet paper is 30 bucks now and they raise it to 45, then maybe Karen is not going to run into Walmart and buy 50 packs of them and will instead only buy 30, leaving some for other people because it's more expensive.
Right, but then there's a lot of other people that then can't afford it.
I hear you, but then there's people who can afford it now but can't get it because they're all gone.
Okay, so but what is that? How does that not stop like Jeff Bezos from just buying up all the toilet paper and marking it up to, you know, like that just says that if you're wealthier, then you can take advantage of people, but if you're not, then you can't.
So what's the alternative?
Well, I don't think that actually supply is running out. I mean, people are being stupid right now, but toilet paper factories are still making toilet paper right now. So, like, yeah, they're not on the shelves, but the people who panic bought probably aren't panic buying more because maybe they've realized that 600 rolls of toilet paper is going to
Is
last
enough.
them a lot longer than they thought. But, like, the next time they hit shelves, like, the likelihood that they just, like, I hope the people have figured out by then that this is not necessary. But, like,
That's what I'm thinking also.
paper factories have not been shut down yet.
Like,
That
we're
we
short
are
term
still
out of
making
stock,
toilet paper.
but
Yes.
long term we should be fine.
Very, very, very much so.
Well-
and like not even long term, like relatively
mean,
short term.
Yeah, I guess I mean like immediately we may not have any, but like give it a week.
right.
So you're saying
No.
that the issue isn't persistent enough to consider raising prices being
I don't think so. No, this is a supply demand issue, right? And
Yes.
demand went up, but like supply just hasn't compensated yet. There is still active time and materials, right? We're not out of trees, we're not out of paper, like we are still making toilet paper actively. There was just no reason for our retailers to stock up as much as people bought because people panic bought.
Yeah.
But like we are still making plenty of toilet paper.
But why wouldn't they want to stock their shelves more and make more money?
They can. They just like it takes a minute for you to place the order and for them to like at the factories make enough because they're not making so much toilet paper in excess that they're just waiting for people to order it, right? Those factories are also maintaining a quota to make sure that they're meeting demand and not overproducing. So like they just now have to kick up their things a little, you know.
Right, there was no way or reason for stores to like anticipate that everyone was gonna like buy them out in a day.
Yeah.
So now they maybe are like vamping up how much they're putting out.
Okay.
But, like the shelves were empty for a while because the stores continued to stock for a normal Tuesday, and then it was like there's a pandemic, freak out everyone, and then everybody went and bought a bunch of stuff that like there was no anticipating that.
Supply chain is a tiny bit behind.
That's even better. I would kind of like to delve into a hypothetical scenario where there's scenario where that they can't ramp up the supply, but that might lead us down a rabbit hole.
No, I mean I think it's an interesting scenario to go down. I don't like the idea that the supply side of economics are the ones determining consumer behavior based on deciding who can afford what. I think that's not a country like a system that I think is a good one.
I agree.
But you know, that's definitely a way that if instead of because we have some issues where we don't like to mandate things legally, especially when it infringes on liberty, which is something that we might be talking about at some point. But you like the market has all the freedom in the world to do things like that if they really want to, right? The market could absolutely collectively decide to raise prices.
Do they?
And yeah,
don't we have legislation against price gouging?
Oh, sure, but it wouldn't be price gouging necessarily because if everyone in the economy is doing it, then it's just price setting, right?
Just like tit for tat going up.
Yeah, price gouging is like, oh, there's an emergency, so we're gonna like this store is gonna price gouge by marking water at $17,000 an ounce or something like that. But like if everyone, you know, like how much does internet cost? You know, like the internet companies, like while they may not meet in private to determine how much that service costs, it's not based on like an exact number of how much labor and infrastructure they spend on. It's like, this is how much we can get people to pay for it. Mm-hmm. So as long as like they're all kind of on the same page of what they want to set that price at, like that's going to be the
competition
price.
Are the things that
set
the price.
If somebody
competition, that's the key here.
Sure, but like when you're talking about ISPs, there really isn't much competition. And like
why is that?
Because
they have government contracts and their infrastructure.
No, it's because infrastructure is so incredibly expensive to set up. Like you can't just like start digging and laying wires to connect the entire country to the internet unless like you have a fair amount of funding and infrastructure ready, right? That's why you can't compete with AT&T. That's why we were concerned with the Sprint T-Mobile merger, is because we're making even less competition in a market where there are like really only 3 competitors. 4 before, now there are 3 because they allowed the merge to go through. But that's like antitrust laws and like vertical and horizontal consolidation and mergers and stuff.
What about all the people who try to set up like free towers or like hotspots where internet can be accessed for free?
I don't
like
know
people have do-it-yourself internet, but I don't know whether or not they're leeching off of bought out infrastructure. I'd have to look into that a bit.
There's some places in Ohio where I can get an internet service provider that is just piggybacking off of a larger company's infrastructure. That happens for sure.
But I mean people building shit with like metal pieces and tinfoil and shit. They're out there.
With legitimate companies that have subscription services, or are they just like, this is our free Wi-Fi tower?
This is our free Wi-Fi tower.
It sounds like preposterous. Like you might get in there and like immediately all your data is, you know, like there is some confidence and security that comes with, you know, working with like a legitimate company, especially when it comes to cybersecurity.
Okay, so security would be a concern there.
Oh, for sure.
I don't feel like I have too much security with like T-Mobile, AT&T, Sprint.
I mean, you kind of do. You know, like there's a kind of a larger infrastructure and reliability that goes on with like your access to the internet. Like we have all had internet this entire time. If you were connected to somebody's random Wi-Fi tower, like what's your guarantee that like when you get shut down, you're not gonna, you know, you can't have someone come out to your house and hook up your new cables and like replace your router. And you know, there's a lot that comes with working with these large companies where you can't just like start a new internet company.
That's
It's
fair.
very difficult.
And part of that is because, and even down to a local government level, they will sign contracts with these companies so only they can have internet or cable even in those areas.
Yeah, well, and that's something that's not really supposed to happen. But like Comcast and Spectrum, for example, have non-compete agreements. I don't even know. Did they merge? They were. I don't know. But like when I lived in Indiana, the only service I could get was Comcast. There was no Time Warner, which is now Spectrum. And when I moved to Ohio, or when I moved back to Ohio, there was only Spectrum. There was no Comcast. So there are certain areas where they agree not to compete with each other by just not offering service in the area.
Yes.
Interesting.
Okay. We are down the rabbit hole. It took me a while to realize it. You made some very good points, Finn. Some stuff I'd honestly have to read up on. I won't weigh in one way or another here at this time. Guys, get ready for it. It's gonna happen. We're gonna have a Soulspeak episode, and FinDiesel will be there because I'll force him there. And we're gonna be debating government role in society with a focus on economy. But we're not dragging everyone down that path this time.
Sorry, I said I'd be good and I wasn't.
You weren't good, Finn. All right, you're making me feel bad. No, I'm just kidding. You're fine, man. It is important to consider because we still are on the topic of public and political reception, government role, economy, and rights. So you did allude to before liberty, the aspect of liberty. So everyone on the panel, let's tie these two things together here. Government role in the economy, but only as pertaining to the coronavirus. How has the virus impacted our economy and our markets? Has the government, with their cease and desist orders, been in the right for doing so? Restricting our movement, confining us to our homes in some cases? What do you guys think? Is this the right move to make? Everywhere or only in some places? When is it okay? When is it not?
I talk too much. I'm gonna wait.
I'll say I think it's tricky because, and I think this came up in our Discord conversation earlier, or somewhere in the Discord, but like on the one hand, as a libertarian, I think the initiation of force is wrong, but I also think that force is okay to use if you're preventing someone from hurting others or from hurting you. So like with a pandemic scenario like this, where's a line drawn? Like people moving around, going into stores, congregating, if they do it voluntarily, like sure, that's okay, but then like next time they're around anybody else, they could have now contracted the virus from moving about freely like that. So it's like,
Passed it.
Yeah.
And
Spread it
passed
to the
it.
larger group that they were in. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying if Group A is all voluntarily meeting up, knowing full well that they could all get coronavirus, that it's a good possibility. But then what about those living with like those susceptible, their grandparents, their children, those with any given health issue, or as we're seeing, or I think Crash, did you mention that in Italy people were dying a lot? Was that you?
I think it was Finn.
Finn? Was that?
I do talk a lot. I don't know if you knew this about me.
Someone mentioned that.
I mentioned it, then Finn expanded on it.
Okay.
Honestly, the biggest problem outside of everything we mentioned was that we don't have a pandemic response team, and that's why even if you've seen Trump talk with other reporters, I don't know if you've seen like a recent video that came in the other day. You know, he's telling them to stay away from each other. They're too close. Just as a jab, a small jabbing joke. You just want to really talk about it. But if we had an actual, response team in the U.S. specifically, things would be handled a lot differently. It would. I'm not saying there wouldn't be a mass hysteria. It would just be handled a lot different. Not only how the media is showing it, but how things are taken care of, especially as far as how hospitals are taking care of things. One of the hospitals that it's not in my county, but on the county over, they don't have any available testing, or the equipment for that matter. And they ran out of the ability to do so within 1 week, I think. It was even a week. And I have clients of my own who called me. They're like, "Oh, why can't we go to this hospital?" And I'm explaining directly, like, well, first of all, this is a hospital you should be going to, whether it be for surgical procedures, any diagnosis. The doctors, the surgeons, and everybody in there is horrible. Honestly, I don't even know how the hospital still exists. They got multiple lawsuits, but flat out letting them know, like, these are the right places to go to. If you're not sure or you can't afford it, these are the screening places within my county. Whereas a lot of people, and this is like I said about misinformation, are even making these statements now that only people that are rich are getting the testing, which isn't true. But again, you just need to be knowledgeable and not take every single thing that's coming in. There's too much information coming in at once every day. I see at least 8 to 15 different articles about the coronavirus to the point where my old partner, I literally had to sit down with her and talk about it because she was telling me something that wasn't true. And I had to basically be like, okay, well, we're both in healthcare. Use some type of common sense here before you start freaking out and scaring me. But no, honestly, I'm going to go back to this a pandemic response team, as well as just accountability, as well as I'm trying not to say Trump is a really bad president. I've really tried not to say that. That's the biggest problem right now. And I didn't want to bring up the elections, but I'm gonna be honest with you. This ties into that as well. His inability to handle the situation is going to tie a lot harder into the elections going forward because he clearly can't handle it. And pay attention by this Thursday. If they don't have the proper stimulus to basically revitalize the actual economy by Thursday, we are all going to be in a bit of a big mess. But again, that's more one of those hearsay moments. I really think that it's just going to, with or without any additional assistance from the government, I think the economy would have came back up anyway. But I already know they're going to throw billions into the economy as well as the stock market as well. But just pay attention to that. Really, I just think the entire situation with the coronavirus, it's giving Trump a less of a winning hand, and that's just how I feel about it, because he can say anything he wants, but I mean, this is a real crisis. He's not handling it very well at all.
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough. Thank you, Deadlift. One second.
Sorry.
I want to mention that Energetic Owl told me like yesterday, I think, that there was a big military presence a town over from you, Energetic. If you'd like to expound on that a bit, I'd appreciate it if you found anything else out. All right, Sierra?
I was just going to say, in regards to, like, when you were talking about states kind of shutting down, like, I definitely agree with you that, like, I don't like the idea.
Oh, you're muted.
I don't like the idea of the government coming in and telling us, like, what we can and can't do and where we can and can't go. But I think that this is, like, a special case and that it has become a little bit necessary. I will say, like, here in Ohio, our government has been really on top of things pretty much since the very beginning. I do not have a lot of positive things to say about DeWine, but he's doing very well with this. And I like so we are, as starting midnight tomorrow until at least April 6th, we are like stay in your home order or whatever. So like we're not going to be able to go anywhere except for like essential things like groceries or medical. And I'd be lying if I said I wasn't nervous about that. Like it's a little overwhelming, but like I think that choice was just to prevent further spread, and I think I think it's a little necessary at this point. if we just want to get it over with. Shelter in place. Thank you, Kayla. I don't have words.
I heard a lot of places were kind of getting shelter ready and makeshift areas, and that kind of leads into the other notion of our healthcare system, as we alluded to in the first part of this, getting overloaded. Now, we know firsthand now that our government is not poised to deal with this, and while we do have some localities, as Sierra mentioned, being like on top of it, which is great. A lot of other ones, I mean, there's still that general feeling of fear. There's still a lot of people going untested. Finn actually had showed me an article earlier that was talking about how Trump told the states to bid on medical supplies, to buy their own medical supplies, and then Trump and the federal government outbid the states.
And then even said something like, "Oh, you probably didn't have enough money."
He did say that.
Yeah.
So for me,
What?
I'm like, can the government... Okay, so some people are seeing this as like, yeah, this is why we need socialism and we need more government intervention. On the other hand, I feel like this is why maybe we could let people kind of handle themselves, give more liberty, and ultimately get more safety and productivity out of it. But it's tricky. There's no definitive right answer for this because we've spent like a century at the very least of having a big brother sort of situation where we've increasingly depended on the state for assistance and help. People, I think by and large, have not forgotten, but maybe like gotten too used to other people handling shit for them. And when we see a pandemic like this break out, in my opinion, it's coming back to bite us in the ass, especially when that person looking out for us either can't handle it, doesn't give a shit, or would rather increase their stock portfolio. So, if anyone want to weigh in on that, I'm sure Finn has something to say, but I would like to hear from Molly or Crashed, if either of them have anything to say.
Molly, you want to go first?
Sure. I don't think I have much new to add. I would echo what Sierra said a lot. Honestly, that I think overall it's something we had to do to help people understand how serious this is. But on the other hand, there's a part of me that can't be nervous when we ban gatherings of any size, or when shelter in place starts to, it seems like it's starting to take more and more states. Our state is considering it because it's intended to be temporary, but I wouldn't trust the people making those choices to not exploit it at some later point. So,
do you mean like extending it, or using this as a sort of test run to see how much they could get away with?
both.
Fair enough. Okay.
My turn.
Oh, was that all, Molly? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Crashed?
Okay. So I find this specific scenario really interesting because I think the best thing that we could have done at a state level is what, for me, Illinois has done, which is where I'm from, where they're saying they're doing the same thing of like, you can't have more than a certain amount of people, and they've kept the essentials open, which then basically means that, yeah, you can go out, but don't meet up with too many people, and we closed all the fun stuff you can do. So then the backing pressure of not going out and spreading this virus is then enforced by peer pressure and by essentially having nowhere to go when you do go out. So you keep to a pretty close locale. And then...
But do you?
Is it?
Do I personally, or...
Well, I just mean, do you think that that's an effective strategy?
I think it's the most liberal strategy they can take without enforcing it upon people, like saying, like, if you go out and we catch you, you go to jail. I think that's possibly the best solution.
I don't think I understand the dynamic
we started
here.
there, though. You know, like that's where we started, was limit the size of gatherings and close the bars and the movie theaters and
By
all
law.
the gyms and everything. And I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah, because it was like I believe it was like DeWine came out and was like, all right, tomorrow at 9 p.m. or tonight at 9 p.m., bars and restaurants closed for dine-in, and like all that stuff started happening first, and now we are moving to being, you know, in our homes, and so I don't know if it wasn't working or if this is just what progress has taken us to. I'm not sure, but we did start there.
I think that we were trying what Illinois was trying, and then was like, well, if you guys, well, I'm not sure. You're saying it is state mandated. There's a mandated order, or you're saying that like it's really just up to peer pressure, and if there's no real consequences, just there's social incentive.
Both. I think the order went out for the blocking of certain, like, you could be in your home and have a certain number of people as long as they don't go out and start going to their homes and spreading it to families that way. So, like, I remember there's a ton of memes on this of, like, you can't have a gathering of 5 more people, and it's, like, families of 6, and they're all pointing at each other with weapons.
Yeah, right. I saw one that was just like, yeet, and it just had, like, one of the children in the hands.
Yeah. That's their main point of just, yeah, you can gather, just stay there. Don't keep going out and then gathering with other people. And I don't know about like police enforcement, but I do know that it is an order from Illinois that started, I think, yesterday at 5 p.m. Central Time.
Yeah, for me, this is like, I think that this is equatable to wartime. Ooh. I think that the amount of loss of life that we're going to see, the amount of preventable loss of life by specific actions is enough that, like, it's so strange for me because, like, I am also, like, a liberty heavy person. I understand the libertarian perspective so much, and I appreciate the, like, there's so many great quotes that are like, anyone who, you know, thinks that freedoms could be taken away don't deserve them, or whatever, you know, like, there's some and
anyone who sacrifices freedom for security deserves neither. Something like
exactly that. Right. And so, like, I understand that perspective a whole lot, and I understand when they say give me liberty or give me death, but, like, when literally your alternative might be death, like, there's a point where, and I think that this is a little bit tangential, and I don't necessarily want to go down this route, but it's very similar to me to the gun debate, right? Where you have to find a happy middle ground where you are neither excessively infringing on freedoms, but you are protecting lives, right? This is where you have to find out how you can draw the line. And at some point, you can say, yeah, like, you're free to do this as long as you, like, don't, you know, as long as you do it, right? But as soon as you aren't doing it and you are putting the general population in danger, then, like, there is some sense to me to saying very temporarily that some liberties are going to be partially suppressed so that we can actively save potentially millions of lives.
How far would you be willing to go to assure this?
I have no idea, because I'm not even completely sold on the idea that I should be able to say that I sacrifice my own liberties, right? Because, like, I totally understand at the core why you would never sacrifice individual liberty. Mm-hmm. But, like, I also am staying in my house, right? So, like, that law wouldn't impact me at all because I am already doing the thing that it would demand that I do. So is it really removing my liberty, or is it only removing the liberty of people who are being actually dangerous to the general population? And I think that there is an interesting debate here, at least, right? It's like, I don't think it's very easy for me to fall somewhere and be like, no, this is a clear solution. We just lock everyone on their homes and we declare martial law, and, you know, we, like, no, I don't think that it's so easy to do that. But, like, I also don't think it is very easy to be like, no, I'm going to keep every bit of liberty that I have until my dying breath, which now may be in 2 weeks because I have exercised my liberties, you know? So I think there's an interesting thing there.
I'll just say, and I'll reiterate this, I think your frame of mind right now is compatible with the idea of liberty, I believe it kind of ties into what I was saying before about the non-aggression principle of not doing harm unto others, doing whatever the fuck you want as long as you're not harming anybody else. And if this is as serious as, I won't even say like the extreme panickers are saying, there is a potential threat, a tangible threat to people by too many people congregating and going out not minding themselves in any way, shape, or form. I'm just not convinced of the true extent of it. Or rather, I'm unknowledgeable of it.
I will say this, like, like Finn said, you know, he's already staying in his house. I haven't left unless I absolutely had to. I've been staying like home since this has happened. I've been self-isolating.
I got 5 guys today.
When someone makes the choice to go out, who are they really a threat to other than themselves? Because you're making that choice to go out, and you're a threat to the other people who are also making the choice to go out. You know what I mean?
The only people you can impact are also not following the rules. I mean, sort of, but like if you're a carrier, you're going to visit family.
I'm glad you said that. I'm gonna get heat for proposing that. Not proposing it. I'm gonna ask about it, okay? If I get, first off, let's maybe put the potential healthy people who get it to the side, who are harmed by it, because I kind of just figured out about that. But if this is mainly killing, like, the elderly and susceptible, people with pre-existing conditions, maybe they should be the ones isolating.
Right, like, why are you leaving the house?
But, yeah.
What happens when we don't?
You just lock up old people and say if you're over the age of 56,
not lock them up. Outside. Tell them, hey, if you come out here, like, there's a good chance you can get sick and die.
Yeah, because I mean, that does. They're not the only people dying. Even in the scenario where
that's true.
The stats are that even where like we didn't know that young people got it commonly, young people still got it, and young people, especially with pre-existing conditions. So like that's always been a thing. Anyone with emphysema is going to be at serious risk if they get this thing. So like I don't know, and that also kind of implies that like we can determine to whom we spread it, right? Or that after I spread it to one person, it's just done there, and that's not kind of how it works. So like if I am going to Kroger and if I am a carrier that I don't know about it because I can have it for 2 weeks without without showing any symptoms, and I go into Kroger and I buy 14 rolls of 14 boxes of toilet paper, and I yell at the stocking clerk to go find more in the back, and I yell at him so much that I spit, and that spit hits him in the face, and now he's sick, and he doesn't know he's sick because I wasn't showing really any symptoms, and then he goes and hugs his grandma, and now his grandma's gonna die, right?
Yeah.
Not because they went outside, but just because they hung out with their son who happens to work in an industry that does not allow him to socially isolate.
Look, that's a sad story, but let's make one little tweak here. Then he goes to grandma's house and she says, "Fuck off, Sonny." Never gets to hug her.
And still relies on individual behavior that we can't control. Like, we can all be as sensible as but we can tell the old people, stay the fuck inside, and so many of them are still not doing that.
That's their decision, is it not?
On Finn's story, like, how are we not still seeing that though? Like, I mean, we can still go out to emergency services, so maybe Boyo works at Kroger down the street and still gets coughed on and then carries on with his life, and like, so even if we are saying, stay at home, there's still emergency things that are happening, and there's still people who are interacting with each other, so that same threat still exists, does it not?
Like, if you're an occupational or physical therapist, you pick people up out of their wheelchairs. Right?
Yeah.
Right.
You lift people out of their beds and put them on the toilet. You cannot avoid physical contact becoming very, very close with elderly people.
Mm-hmm.
So, like...
That's a good point.
That's a legitimate... And that's an essential service. That's not going to be able to stop because those people still need someone to help them get out of bed and use the toilet.
I want to touch on that right after I read one of Nim's comments. She said, "I have underlying health conditions, but we still need food. Someone has to go be around other people in order to bring food to the house, Right. Which is also valid. So the health care provider, no, that's not the right word. The person helping the person out of the wheelchair. How is that working out now? Is what I'm curious about. Are they staying home in their own house? Are they staying with the elderly person they have to care for? Are they all in a hospital together? Like, I'm not proposing people be like inconsiderate dickbags. I think if I work in that line of work, I'm gonna take the precautions necessary to not expose myself to the virus. I just think we're not seeing too much of a. Well, I can't say that. The virus hasn't gone into full effect yet, so I don't really want to speculate.
That's one thing. We're not even like halfway through wave 1. This is very, very early, and like we have not seen what this thing is going to do yet. Like, I cannot stress enough that we are like very, very, very early in this thing. That doesn't mean that it's going to be devastating, but like we're not 70% through. We're like 15-20% through this thing.
So with how bad it is now, economically speaking, and just socially speaking, like, can we really do this to the extent where nobody can go outside because we don't want to put people who can't handle the disease, whether they're elderly, immunocompromised, or some other condition? Is everybody else going to starve to death? Is everybody else going to become destitute? Like, how far are we willing to go to protect?
Such an important question right now. This is such an important question because, like, we're obviously making a decision right now that human lives are more important than the American economy, right? And I agree with that sentiment to a point, but like, I also recognize that, like, man, Goldman Sachs just projected that we're going to have 2.5 million unemployment claims, like, next week. Like, and that's a jump the likes of which we have honestly never seen. Like, never. We've had big recessions in recent history that are fractions of how many unemployment claims that is. We've got employers who are going to have to close their doors because they cannot pay the unemployment benefits to their employees. We've got employees who are out of work and do not have money saved up to just be able to, like, last it out. You know, like, I mean, the majority of people, there were stats coming out not all that long ago that talked about the majority of people could not afford one serious medical bill, and this is that. Like, I've seen articles where a woman got $34,000 bill for her COVID treatment at a hospital. So, like, we're talking about expenses people can't pay, income they're no longer getting, their employers can't afford to pay the benefits, so they're going to close their doors. There's, like, this, we've never seen. The impact on our economy is already going to be drastic. And we are, again, not even a small portion of the way through this thing yet. So, like, I don't know what's going to happen because right now our system is not built to handle this. Like, this is seriously Dust Bowl-like stuff where we are shutting down huge portions of our economy. Like, this is like a wonderful test for whether or not, like, this economic system can survive something like this. It really is.
I'll agree with that. And I'll reiterate, now that you've said that, how many people throughout, like, the Dust Bowl, the Great Depression and stuff, how many people, like, starved to death? Their quality of life just went to shit for years at a time. Like, a lot, exactly. I'm not in any way advocating, like, oh, let's blame the elderly and leave them to their own defenses or something. As we discussed here, there's people in chat whom I love dearly who have compromised immune systems. There are people who are seemingly healthy dying across the globe from this. That being said, basically I'm just trying to paint a picture that people are going to die. It's going to spread from what I'm being told. People
are already dead.
People
have died already.
I should have said, people are already dead, and experts seem to be projecting that more are on the way. So, as Finn mentioned, there's a lot of awful things that can happen economically here. How do we balance it? Is this quarantining going to be the right mode? For how long can we do it? How are we actually being sensitive and compassionate by quarantining, or are we just making shit harder for ourselves and pandering to what might seem like the easier option? I don't know. What do you Crash, Molly, Deadlift, Sierra, what do you guys think? In your ideal world, what happens? And well, all right, sorry, I won't ask that question yet. Molly, please go.
It's like ideal of everything? No. I just don't think it's about being sensitive and compassionate. It's about preventing the spread of the virus as much as possible. Like, the situation is grim no matter what. And, like, I truly feel I have friends who were bartenders and they do not have jobs anymore. Like, they've been laid off. I have friends who worked at a bookstore. That bookstore is probably going out of business, like, because it was barely hanging on before this happened. And those are, you know, like, far from a few cases. So...
And those are the people who have a bank account. Those don't have savings.
And, like, at least, you know, in one case, like, their partner's still working. Like, I, for one, am extremely grateful that my job, like, really, really excellent about this, that we can work from home, that we maintain benefits. They've extended our sick leave in case we get the virus. Like, I'm so grateful for that. But there's so many people I know who don't have that. And that's why, to me, like, I'm taking this very seriously, even though I'm unlikely to get sick, or if I do get sick, I'm unlikely to have any severe effects from it. Nor is anyone who lives in my house. But I don't know.
Molly, that I'm glad you said as much. Okay. To be clear, at least on my end, I think it is compassion, because we could go, if the virus spreads, it spreads. Like, and people will die from it, as we've established already. What I mean to say, though, is who cares if it spreads would be the non-compassionate thing to ask. Who cares? Then whoever's immune or won't get hurt by it will survive and we'll be fine. We'll be sick for a little bit. But it's our compassion that wants to keep as many people as we can alive, having us quarantined. Is it, though? Because we're tanking our own economy right now.
Yeah, but so would killing a large percentage of the global population, right? Like, and especially the amount of sickness that would put people out of work. Like, we're talking about, like, shutting down so that we don't destroy the economy in other ways, right? It's not like if we just went about business as usual, no one would get sick and no one would die. Or, you know, like, even if a couple people died, the economic impact is still very, very long term. Like, people would still not be going on cruises, right? Because people are dying from this thing, right? Like, the scenes in hospitals that they're showing, you do not want to see. They are gross. This is not, like, when this thing takes control, it's disgusting. And when that happens, we're not going to have the ventilators. Our hospital systems will go out. Not only will people die from this disease, people who can't get hospital treatment from other things are going to die because they couldn't get proper treatment. And that extends, like, so far. How long are the hospitals going to be overwhelmed, right? How many people are going to die from, like, a small infection that would have been 100% treatable because they don't have a hospital bed or they don't have an appointment for whatever? Like, there are so many implications that also impact the economy so much more than the stock market right now. Yeah. And like there are a lot of people who would, you know, if say these servers and bartenders, you know, they get the virus because they're dealing very close to people all the time, right? They're touching credit cards, they're touching money, they're standing within 6 feet of people, they're being coughed on, they're like dealing literally with things people spit on, right? Like, they would have to wash their hands every 3 seconds to not get this thing. And after 2 weeks, they're going to have a fever and aches and pains. They're going to have a dry cough that will pass to anyone. They're not allowed to go to work like that because they will continue to spread this thing. And by the time they know that they have it, they've been going to work for 2 weeks, coughing on people, spreading it to other people they work with. We're talking about a virus that even if we social distance extremely, we might spread it to the entire world. That's one of the scenarios we're looking at. Containment is no longer an option. Almost everyone is going to get this thing. Like, we need to develop a
That
cure.
that is the key statement. I was just about to ask everybody, how confident are you that people are not gonna get this virus? With the current, well, not the current measures, but the current direction we seem to want to take with quarantining, with social distancing, stuff like that. How confident is everyone that's going to work and keep the virus from spreading too much?
I think what's most interesting about this is that there is the complete opposite ends of people like are lucky and like me who can stay home and I have enough to keep myself afloat, and then people are like, oh, this isn't a big of a deal, and there's a vast majority of people who don't think this is a big deal, or people who are not doing enough of their part or can't do enough of their part because of how our economic society works. So by the time that the full measures, as Finn has described, have taken effect, like once we're through 80% of this first wave, it's too late. We can't make countermeasures. We just have to either ride the wave out, or I don't know what kind of measures we would be able to take.
Yeah, I don't like when you say how effective do we think it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be all that effective, honestly. Like, I understand that the steps we're taking right now are to prevent further spread, and it may slow it down for sure, but we're not officially quarantining in our houses. There's still people who are able to go to the groceries and who are going to hospitals, and there's people caring for these people in hospitals. There's people working at these groceries. There's people doing essential, like, working in these places that are carrying out essential services, and the people who have to receive those essential services. So there is still people out and about and being around each other, and we can minimize it a bit, but I don't think it's not going to make it just go away. We are still going to be dealing with this for quite a while.
Fair enough. So you all kind of largely, well, Molly and Deadlift.
I would agree that I think it may not be, I'm not confident that it'll be that effective, but it's going to be more effective than not doing it.
Okay.
And on top of that, I forgot what I was going to say. Cool.
It happens. If you remember, feel free to chime in. Deadlift, what do you think? The methods we want to put in place, are they going to be effective in keeping the virus from everybody?
I mean, it's a little complicated. Problems right now is a lot of jobs are lying to their, for the most part. I've heard already a few cases in New York State where they've known for weeks and they'll wait until they have a handle on the situation to be like, oh wait, well, this person had, the virus. And I'm not saying that it's not a smart thing to keep it a very, the information as far as who has a virus in your workplace to be a very close-knit thing and make sure it doesn't get out to everybody to cause overall panic. But I mean, combine that with the amount of people that are filing for unemployment right now, unemployment sites, which I saw somebody put in the chat, which I was going to bring that up. I have a few buddies of mine that are bartenders or work in restaurants, which unfortunately they had to file unemployment for, or had a hard time filing for unemployment all week. And just like Crash said too, like, I have the ability to work from home, but I mean, it's a shit show. I want to say that we will at some point adapt and things will work over time, but I don't see that happening right now, at least within the next 2 weeks. Like the next 2-3 weeks, I think it's just going to get worse, and then it's going to get better, but it has to get worse first, unfortunately.
So, okay, 2 questions to you all. How much percent of the world's population do you think will contract the virus before it's over and done with?
That has everything to do with us. It has everything to do with how we behave.
Okay, if we behave on the best possible terms,
so I saw
that are presented to us currently, quarantining, social distancing, stuff like that.
I saw a thing that showed that on day 21 of discovering about this thing, or day 21 from patient 0, implementing social distancing on day 21 versus day 20 showed a 40% increase of cases. So, like, the amount of the number of people that you can spread it to just in like a day of taking these sort of measures is like seriously significant.
Jesus.
So it has everything to do with what seems like, you know, the most simple behavior, right? Is like all we have to do is stay inside and spread this thing out, and it will be significantly less impactful. Like so it's very hard for me to make that call because it has everything to do with whether or not we stay inside or not.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I think it's like I just posted a thing. This made a fact check, but it says that Louisiana and Ohio found out about this the disease on the same day. Ohio's implemented well, no, this isn't. I can't even use this because the number of cases has everything to do with testing. But like Louisiana.
That's true.
Louisiana had it spread significantly more. I think in hindsight, in retrospect, we're going to be able to see this by state to state data, what the impact of implementing things like social distancing is, because once we have a better idea of like what the spread is, how many people are actually infected, how many people have died, then we'll actually be able to say it must have been these measures put in place by these places that created the gap between the state that saw an incredible number, or, you know, fast spread, overwhelmed hospitals and increased, or, you know, ridiculous number of deaths, versus a state that was like, that doesn't overwhelm the hospital system because they were able to flatten the curve.
One thing I think that we need to account for with that, though, is things like spring break. A lot of that still carried on. You know, like a lot of people left whatever state they were in that was maybe implementing things
and brought it back
to go and do spring break stuff, and then may have been exposed to it and then brought that back. I have someone who I used to work with at my last job who took a trip to Vegas right at the start of this, and I was like, what in the hell are you doing? But she went to Vegas, came back, and on the day she was supposed to go back to work, had to call in and was like, I was exposed, and then had to take 2 weeks off and self-quarantine. So I think that, like, while on one hand, yeah, you can say, like, well, some states are doing more things and there's this and that, but then, like, you also have to account for travel.
Yeah, that's true. There's a lot of things. Oh.
Sorry, but if that person travels and comes back home and everyone is inside, that person can't spread it to nearly as many people, right? Valid. So, like,
unless they're in a household of a bunch of people.
Sure, but then even then, that's part of the things that we're already accounting for. Right?
Yeah.
We are saying some spread is going to happen and we know it. Just the rate at which it spreads could crush us. Could absolutely crush us. Like I posted a graph earlier, we have 2.3 beds per 1,000 Americans. 2.3 hospital beds per 1,000 Americans. So if we can
cuddle effectively,
well, it's less cuddling. It's like, I need to send you home. I need to get you cured. I need to get you treated, and I need to get you out of here so that we have another bed. And if I can wait, if me personally staying indoors, even if I still get this thing, if I don't get it for 3 months, then like I could very well have like done my part to make sure that the cases were spread out so that they didn't overwhelm the system. And like Ohio has been taking extreme measures and we have really good healthcare. So like I am in a better position than most. Like I am very concerned about New York City right now. They're talking about saying they only have like half the number of hospital beds they need like now. Like I saw a headline earlier that said they need 111,000 beds or something like that and only have like 56,000. And I don't know if that was a projection or if it was right now, but like the hospital systems in New York are already starting to be overwhelmed.
Deadlift, do you want to comment on that?
I mean, I already pretty much made statements about it, so the only thing I'm going to add to it is no, there's nothing I can add.
Fair enough.
No, New York is just it's an insane cesspool to the point where if you're because I don't live in New York, I live in the capital region. But in any of the 5 boroughs, I'm going to tell you right now, they pretty much were on lockdown 2 weeks ago. Like either a week or 2 weeks ago, if I'm not mistaken. I got to ask my brother again. But pretty much I called him like a week ago, and I'm like, are you all right? He's like, he's a software engineer. So he's like, oh, I've been home. since the beginning of March, and he's seen a lot of it already. A lot of the situation already coming, but New York is so overly densely populated that it's pretty much impossible if the virus spreads to every demographic. It's impossible to take care of everyone, which it's unfortunate, but I hope it doesn't get to that point.
Yeah, you're right. I think we have to kind of come to terms with that. Well, I guess if you spread it over like 20 years, it wouldn't be unpopular. Impossible.
It doesn't even need to be that long at all.
Are you sure though?
Absolutely. Like if you look at this, if you look at the charts, like it's not a matter of years. It's just making sure that you don't squish it all into such a small time period that we don't have enough supplies and staff and beds and whatever.
300 million people, time and money. You think we got enough? Okay. I don't know.
Well, we have 2 hospital beds per 1,000 people, so that means depending on how long you would stay in a hospital bed, you need to spread it out. You could do the math on this and figure out how long your average patient stays in a hospital bed.
Bold of you to presume I know how to do math, sir.
Well, I'm just saying that the equation is not complex calculations.
No, I know.
You figure once you know how long somebody stays in a hospital bed and how many beds there are per 1,000 people,
yes,
then you can just figure out how long do we really need to spread this out over the course of. So, and I mean that's a national average when it's much smarter to probably calculate at local levels because we've got specific hospitals and areas and some places have more beds than others. But
Finn, I appreciate the breakdown. I'd like to wrap up what I think you're saying, and I'm convinced. I don't like the idea of a lot of things going on right now. But I do like the idea of making an extra effort to take personal responsibility and give everyone breathing room so things can be done in a manner more conducive to getting everybody help who needs it. Who should be providing that help? A different sort of debate that we've touched on already. But if there's people's lives at risk, there's businesses clearly at risk. The sooner we could get through this with the least people dying as possible, the better. So I think I'm with Finn in terms of social distancing and quarantining of your own volition so that people who really need it can get the help they need. And if you happen to get sick at another time, you don't take up a bed now during high peaks of the outbreaks. So I could jive with that. I presume all of you agree with that sort of sentiment.
I agree with what's already been said.
Okay. Moving on then. Well, actually, I did want to read something Rusty Viking said. He said, "The UK were dicks. People don't understand the factor of staying indoors. Kids are playing with kids and others getting together. The pubs have been told not to let anyone in, yet they're sneaking people in through the fire exits. It's bullshit." Woo! Sneaking people in through the fire exits. This ain't chicken pox, people. Jesus. And all the morons that headed to the beaches and campsites this week. Ugh. It's a lot to take in. Okay. Too much chat to catch up on. I'm sorry, guys. We'll get to chat in a little bit. But we do want to get to... Okay. We did hit the quarantine issue a bit, obviously. But let's talk a bit about physical and mental health. What have you guys been doing to stay active, to keep your mind from imploding? I'll say off the bat, I'm extremely grateful for everyone here. On the panel, in chat, on Twitch as a whole. Twitch... as stressful as it could be at times, as we went over in Grove Lore, that's Sierra's podcast, it can get stressful. But at the end of the day, it brings people together. It's a great platform to not just entertain, but to connect with people. So I'm really fucking happy that I have it now. Aside from that, I walked I took 3 steps today, 3.5, 3.25. Don't judge me, deadlift. Alright. So, anybody else want to share stuff they do to stay sane and healthy?
Twitch is a thing. Animal Crossing just came out, So that is on my attention. The
That's fair.
bobblehead game, Slurp.
There it is.
I want to start doing, or I used to do yoga, but I did that in a studio, and I don't necessarily have I don't know if I have a ton of space here to do it, but I want to start doing that also to help me be cool and be okay. Like mentally and physically, yoga helps me with both of those things.
I hear that. I always wanted to get into yoga, but don't tell nobody. Black, thank you, Black Saint.
Great.
Is anything else, Sierra? Fair enough.
I'm stressing out. I'm just trying not to. I'm trying to be as distracted as I can pretty much all the time. Whether it's I know I've been in your DMs a lot. I've been just talking to anybody that I can talk to. Lots of Animal Crossing, lots of music, lots of whatever distractions I can give myself.
Okay. So I appreciate the notion of distractions. I'll get back to that though. I want to let Crashed go. I saw his hand up.
Yeah, I was gonna say, for physical stuff, your best bet usually is doing something you do routinely and then adding physicality to it. Like whenever I watch TV, and I'll watch anime for 6 hours some days and then 0 hours other days, but I'll do yoga the whole time. So I'll at least burn I'll burn calories instead of sitting there. So I'm not I don't remember the word for it, but just not moving. And then for mental health, one of my favorite tricks for keeping yourself sane is to break up monotony of associations in your house. I really like mixing up the kind of scents in my house with scented candles or incense. I like to go to rooms that are for something. I like going to my kitchen and I'll do a puzzle because it's not where I would normally do a puzzle. Stuff like that. It helps. I know it's probably sounds weird, but it helps for not getting bored and you're encased in your own space.
I'm almost the opposite of that. I need some amount of routine and comfort.
I hear that. Is that all, Crash?
That would be it for me.
Thank you very much, sir. Molly, I'm gonna go to Molly first, Finn. All right, you had your fair share. Just kidding.
I talk too much.
You're good. We love you for it. I know I do. Molly, what do you got for us?
Well, I put a link in the chat that one of my friends has been sharing that has suggestions for taking care of in these times.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that may or may not be helpful to people. Me personally, I don't know, we've joked about it a lot, but I seriously don't go out a lot, so what's changed, really? I don't know. I'm gonna stay home and play video games and read books and pet my cats. So
just
that's
petting?
not changed at all. Well, sometimes they try to make out with me, but that's on them.
They're little fluffy mouths. They're so affectionate. That's
too affectionate.
Yes, my cat likes drooling on the inside of my elbow, so I can't even cough there anymore. He took it over. Thank you, Molly. Finn, what do you got for us?
I'm honestly one of those people who have you seen the meme that's when you find out that your daily habits are called quarantine?
Yes.
It's the that little thing. Yeah, I resemble that remark. I am one to I keep a social life, but we a lot of my friends play video games online, so we can do that. I am taking part in panels from time to time. That's always kind of fun. Really, just right now, but I don't know. I think it's definitely important to make sure that you check on your friends too.
Huge.
People right now. I'm fortunate to be pretty comfortable in my introverted skin, and so this is good social activity for me, and I'm fine. So, but that's not true of everybody. So I know that I have friends who, are cooped up right now, and don't have to deal with that. So, you know, especially if any of you out there need someone to talk to, we're around.
I'm glad you said that, Finn, because now that we're here, I do want to reiterate the panel, and I mean, we have an adjustment, of course, for those of you just joining us who might not know. Sierra was awesome enough to come in at the drop of a hat when our initial panelist was having some issues. Guys, this is a bit off the cuff and might not be doable at the moment, but if anyone in any of these people's Discord servers would like to throw down their Discord links, if you guys are approving of it, feel free also, because Discord's proven an excellent place to hang out. It's not...
Yeah.
It's definitely a different vibe than Twitter. We ain't hanging out on Twitter, okay? We'll hang out on Discord, though, and in streams, of course. So, all of these people here, I know I can vouch for times 100. It's important. Finn, I think, brought up a really good point about checking up on people. Actually, as we discussed, I think Molly crashed, deadlift. I'm pointing, but you guys probably aren't where... okay, whatever. They were all on our first mental health Soulspeak episode. And Sierra actually happens to be a mental health advocate. So I think it's kind of interesting that we're delving into this. Finn, just a very smart and compassionate dude, so he fits right in as well. So lots of good people here to interact with if you're feeling a bit despondent, to say the least, with everything going on. It is important to note we're all in this together, and the idea of reaching out to another person, back to what I liked about what Finn said, I find for me personally, I get myself most out of a funk when I'm doing for others, when I'm trying to help others, even if it's in small ways like saying, hey, how the fuck you doing? So yeah, keeping stuff like that in mind is good. I do recommend doing some calisthenics if you don't have a home gym like the world champion deadlift over here. But also, I'm real lazy and I don't do calisthenics too often, so I gotta practice what I preach. Did anyone else have any advice for mental and physical health in a time of, well, I guess generality? It doesn't necessarily have to be a quarantine. That's where we are, though.
I mean, my biggest thing is I've been trying to like practice the mentality of like control what you can and release what you can't. There's certain things that are within your control. Like you can, you know, make sure that you have your necessities. You can make sure that you're self-quarantined. There's certain things that are within your control, like what you do on the day-to-day. And then there's things that you can't control, like moves that the government is making at these points in time. And like, all you can do is focus on the things that are within your control and try not to hyper focus or stress out too much about the things that are happening, like I said, like in the government or whatever, that are outside of that control, because stressing about it isn't going to make it stop and isn't going to help and isn't going to like, if you're like, oh man, I'm so freaked out because this thing is happening, keep freaking out, it's still gonna happen. So like all you can do is release that.
That is an excellent point. Something that I was going to kick myself in the ass after the stream for not mentioning. I'm really glad he brought it up. It's good. I think it is healthy to be considerate.
Sure.
Maybe worry just a little bit in that vein, but anger, fear, I know for me, they can easily get the best of me, and I'll lose sight of what there is to be grateful for, what's important, and more importantly, what is productive? What's the best way to go about dealing with any given issue? Because I'm too wrapped up in my fear of the future. So that's awesome input there, Sierra. Thanks for that. Anybody else?
I got one more. Promise, one last one. If you are interested in learning any type of skill, talent, like learning an instrument, learning a language, now is the time to do it.
Don't put that on me, Crash.
No,
don't put that.
I was just looking at my ukulele today. That is a good call.
I posted something on Facebook earlier that was like, Chance the Rapper wrote the draft for his first album during a 10-day suspension from school, and now's your chance.
I mean,
it's a good time. It's a really good time for that.
It's too much pressure.
No, it's like, it's just, the encouragement is to take this time where you're stuck and stressed and fuel it into something you love and create something awesome.
Look,
funnel into productivity.
That's fair. I don't need the last thing I do before I die to be a failure, okay? I'm just throwing it out there. I'm just kidding, guys. He right. And Crash, I'm gonna try learning guitar, and I'm gonna cry in my closet for a long time. And it's
If
all
you
your
want
fault.
help, if you want help, I'm like a self-taught guitar player of 15 years, and like I know.
You're self-taught?
Yeah.
Guys, if you haven't seen this man perform, you would not believe that at all.
I will gladly help you.
I appreciate that, Finn. For later discussion. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are gonna move on to our final topic of the evening, and that. Wow, wait a minute. What the fuck have I done? No, okay, we're good. Okay. So the last topic of the evening is going to be conspiracy and conjecture with Finn playing guitar in the background to highlight all the fun points. So there's a lot of conspiracies going on, and this mouse is confusing me so much. I usually don't have the mouse captured on the screen for these shows, and I don't know why it popped up now. And I see two mice, and one's right in CrashedStarling's very nice beard. I feel like I'm rubbing it. Alright, I'm getting sidetracked here. Alright, so we're gonna get into conspiracy and conjecture. So, foul player intent, was this virus at all the product of some nefarious plot or greed?
I'm about to post a link in the chat for this.
Versace nutmeg, I like that. So no one thinks there's any foul play going on here.
Hi, Raiders.
I do not.
Hello, Raiders, indeed.
I mean, if you want to be a weirdo, Harvey Weinstein finally got 23 years in prison, and then he magically gets the coronavirus. I mean, you could be funny and say that's a conspiracy.
Epstein didn't kill himself. Weinstein didn't get coronavirus by himself.
But they both had something on Hillary Clinton. Everyone knows that. So Sparkle On is saying what Nim said. You made a big difference in. Oh, this is just nice words. I'm gonna read it anyway because it's my show. Fuck you guys. You made a big difference in our lives with your wonderful streams and being a sane-ish, kind voice in the midst of all this chaos. Look. I just want y'all to respect that I just told everyone to fuck off, and then you told everyone I was a con man, and I love you for it. I'm messing with you guys. I love yous. I thought that was very nice, though. Thank you, Nim. The conspiracy thing does not seem to be something too many people are taking to, at least in terms of origins. Molly's quiet. She gave me a death stare. Finn smirking. Crash is like, fuck this, I'm out. Deadlift, I think Deadlift might have been onto something. Sierra gave us a quick nod, so we'll move on from it. What about taking advantage? We already talked about the stock issue with the senators. Do you guys feel there's a risk here of government kind of feeling out, like Molly was saying earlier, feeling out sort of what they could do, what kind of power they could implement in terms of maybe taking away some of our rights and extending that, or doing it in the future with more ease or strategy?
I guess my hope would be that they are too busy dealing with the actual problem to try and feel out any gains of power, but I do think that it is entirely possible that they will use any opportunity of like a breather to possibly try and enforce some extra rules on us, but I have no idea.
I get that fear. I technically, I understand that. I think that, I don't know. I think that there is more historical evidence that this is worth being afraid of than there is historical evidence that the government coming in and like utilizing this to diminish our rights more has evidence. But that doesn't mean that it's not a credible, reasonable fear. I just think if we're weighing the things where we can look at historical consequences and significances, then I am more scared of what a virus can do to us than I am scared that there are people trying to sneak in, liberty removing laws, personally.
Fair enough. Deadlift?
Nothing to add.
Molly, you gotta be
But like, that's not
honest.
to say. So I do want to say that I still think that is a legitimate concern. I didn't mean to be like, that's wrong or something like that. I think that like, it is a very slippery slope to allow the government to implement anything that infringes upon personal liberties. Like, obviously, I believe in our Constitution and our Bill of Rights. But I do, I think this is one of the hardest things for me to come to a real solid conclusion on, is like, how much trust can I put in this system? Because like, I do think there's also like, while I say that there is more evidence that the virus is threatening, that's not to say that there is no evidence that the government attempts to chip away at our personal liberties, because that happens with some regularity, especially, some people are more targeted at that than others. But something in my mind says that this is worth prioritizing safety over liberty. And I think that there are a lot of things that we make that concession. I think this is one of them, but that's just me personally. And I also that's not something, I think that's a really interesting debate. I think that you could easily change my mind on this. But right now I am more worried about the virus than I am about the government.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that I'm more worried about like what the virus can do to us than like what the government is doing to us. And while like going back to what Molly had said earlier about, maybe they're just gonna test their like abilities and what they can get away with, I don't think that's the intent. I definitely don't think that they're like, well, let's put this in to see how much we can get away with. But I think that they're implementing it as a safety measure, and there is a little bit of fear that they're gonna be like, oh, we said do it and they just did it. So
yeah, so if someone's
and like things growing from that, I don't think that was the plan, but it is a potential for that to be the impact.
Yeah, and I mentioned this earlier in the Discord chat, but I think some of you didn't see this. But like, if someone who is tested positive says, "Screw you, I want to visit my grandma," and goes to a nursing home and infects the entire population, a large percentage of whom then pass, is that a mass murder?
There's been talk of like, I know there was when DeWine initially made the announcement that like, okay, at 9 p.m. tonight everything is closed for dine-in, there was some restaurant somewhere in this, I don't even know where the hell it was, there was some restaurant that I'm sure you probably saw it was all over Facebook, where they were
I
like,
know two
whatever
in town that stayed open.
Yes, like there was one person that was all over Facebook and like, fuck it, we're staying open anyway. I didn't see anything about martial law coming into play. Let them come for me. And there was talk of that being biological terrorism because of the things that could happen from that and the reasons behind closing all of these and them choosing to ignore that and potentially allow these things to happen.
That argument isn't unreasonable. It really is not.
I mean, especially if there's intent behind it or clear signs that it's going to happen, even like neglect to an extent, I think that could
Then
potentially apply to.
Is it mass manslaughter?
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, just, in a general sense, like, there is a precedence for this idea, I feel like, because we do need to be held accountable to some extent for the consequences of our actions, regardless.
Sure, I mean, we have multiple poems about Typhoid Mary, right? Who, like, got sick and was working, was handing out food, and, like, is known as the person who, like, gave a ton of people typhoid and killed a lot of people due to gross negligence.
Is she a real person?
Yeah, Typhoid Mary is a real thing.
Somebody needs to roundhouse kick it in the ribs. Well, I presume she didn't know?
It's a long time ago. 1800s. She died in 1938.
Did she do it on purpose?
No, we just didn't know, about infectious spreads like this. She didn't know she was a carrier.
Oh,
A
okay.
carrier.
Gotcha.
It looks like she was a carrier for salmonella, but like salmonella typhi, which might be typhoid.
She
But anyway, she was
ate
nicknamed
raw
Typhoid
chicken
Mary.
exclusively. That's wild. So Nim says, life over liberty, 100%. My only problem with that, well, okay, I have a few problems with that, but I feel like we could wind up losing lives as a result of the loss of liberty. But again, I do still stand by what I said before. At the moment, it does seem practical to take a few steps back from some liberties to assure life. Just common sense shit.
It's a slippery slope, but yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I don't actually think the government is like planning to test this, but I think it's one of those opportunity things where they'll possibly make later choices, and this is going to change the face of so much about our society for
Yes, with
so many ways we can't predict.
Okay, so for what you were saying, Molly, I do think there's foul play afoot, to some degree, because as soon as shit hits the fan, I just assume there's some oligarchic type motherfuckers or higher ups in the government who got some weird shit going on. I don't know what it is. I'm not gonna say it's reptiles bathing in baby blood, but I will. I should not say that, okay? I've been ordered on the Eastern Seaboard not to say that anymore, actually.
He knows too much.
Guys, we have to remember, we've done crazy shit before. We've had smallpox blankets. We've had Fidel Castro smoking cigars laced with LSD. We've sent our ships into, our civilian ships into war zones or foreign waters that we knew were hostile, or blown up our own even, just so we could get ourselves into wars. Like, we've done sketchy shit in the past. There's historical precedents, not conspiracy theory, conspiracy fact, of our government doing some really shady shit. I'm not saying that I believe they spread the coronavirus. I'm not saying the Chinese government did it, or any government. But I am saying I do agree with the notion that they could definitely be using this to test the waters with stuff, to do shady back-end deals like the whole stock market thing Finn brought up earlier. And if I do find out that some strange, dark, shady shit was going down, I'm not going to be too surprised about it, depending on what it is. But the fact remains, well, for me anyway, I think there's very good reason not to trust people in power in general.
But what's the alternative? Right?
Don't ask that. You know what's gonna happen if you ask that question, Finn.
Well, I mean, is there a point where you say, okay, 200,000, or, like 1.5 million Americans' lives lost is the line, right? That's where I said taking away liberties was worth, like, how can you put a value on life like that?
Okay.
That's my question. Is at what point do you say, okay, if it's going to murder 2 million people, then maybe we should do something about it?
I'll hit you with a return question of, is enslavement and impoverishment, well, I guess enslavement would kind of go in tandem with that.
I don't know if it's enslavement.
Are we talking hypotheticals here? Because my main thing is quality of life. Just
but it's not enslavement.
Are we still talking about corrupt governments and alien reptiles trying to harvest our organs?
I'm talking about just basic protections, right? So let's say the only law that gets passed is that for the next 2 months, everyone has to stay inside except for essential runs, right? It's mandated. If you are outside of your house to do anything except make essential whatever, then you can be imprisoned, right?
Like gardening or some shit?
What's that?
Like gardening? Or you mean like going out, like getting a pizza or something?
Like leaving your property.
Okay.
Right? So if we said if the government said for 3 months, no Americans are allowed to leave their property, except for essential whatever, right? Because there's a long list of what's determined essentials. So if that's the only law that passes, how many lives would have to be saved for someone to be, for us to say that was a worthwhile temporary sacrifice of liberty?
How long would it go on for?
I mean, you can determine that too if you want. Let's say 3 months.
Bro, you can't put this on me right now.
I don't know. I'm curious, like if the thing is that I am so concerned of the potential of government corruption, then there also should be a potential concern of the deadliness of the virus, right? So
I wasn't arguing against the virus.
No, not at all. I'm just saying, at what point do you say I can sacrifice my personal liberties because I know that because I can guarantee that it's gonna save this many lives?
I would hope people are pretty flexible with that, but I would like them to do it of their own volition over the government telling them they have to. But like you were saying before,
right now, like spring break shows that people are not doing it of their own volition.
Yeah.
So at what point, like, is there a value? Can you say, like, this is the point, this is the number of lives that if you can guarantee me that we're saving 3 million lives, then we can make this law.
I don't.
Right?
It definitely wouldn't be that easy to put a number on it.
But is that even the measure, right? Because I feel like the reason we're unwilling to sacrifice our rights, I mean, obvious reasons, but the reason we're unwilling to sacrifice our rights is because, like, I have these rights as a human and an American. These are inherent rights that are bestowed upon me that cannot be alienated, right? And that my freedom in a free society relies on my ability to have that liberty and freedom, right? So you're saying I cannot sacrifice even the slightest bit of that because of the potential corruption that comes in the future. I didn't
say that.
Aren't you saying that, like, that there is fear that the government corruption, right? Because we are already fearful that the virus is going to take lives. So there has to be an equivalent fear of sacrificing our liberties. No?
Yeah.
So at what point does the fear of the lethality of the...
Not equivalent, because I've taken our diminishing of rights as sort of a fact of life. If anything, the virus is just speeding up the process. Our rights diminish on I guess, yearly to bi-yearly basis.
I think it's the pendulum swings, but I understand that. So then why not say, sure, then the government can lock us up right now, right? We're already losing our rights anyway. This is an inevitability.
That's a bit of a leap.
Well,
I mean, I would still like to keep up the fight to get them back and at least kind of stop the
100%.
motion.
I agree with that.
Well, you say that, but we are at very different ends of the economic spectrum, and I propose that your end is inherently natural right diminishing.
Well, but that's what we're worried about, right? Is diminishing of natural rights.
Yeah.
This is your concern. So
one of them.
How fearful would you have to be of the other thing for you to be willing to sacrifice the thing that is, like, central to your personal ideology?
Okay. So you're asking, like, how fearful would I have to be of the coronavirus to willingly sacrifice my rights to the government?
Yeah, because that's an equivalent fear.
Even though I'm already willing to do a lot of the stuff that they're saying just because I think it's the right thing.
Right, but the main difference is that it would be government mandated, so it's no longer up to your own volition.
I'm not that recalcitrant, Finn.
No, not at all. That's why I'm asking where that line is. I'm not implying where that line is.
Okay.
I'm curious what your answer to the question
Well,
is.
it depends on what it is. Like, if the government came to me and is like, well, the government, like, it's one guy. If Donald Trump comes to my door, like, it depends on which right it is, and and how.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Specifically, the law is for 3 months, no Americans are allowed to leave their home by government mandate.
Okay, back to this.
Except for essential trips for 3 months.
And
how
now,
many lives would you have to save? Because that's what I'm.
I don't know. It'd have to be a lot to.
Can I throw an element out here? Just an extra little smidgen on top.
Yeah.
How is this mandate? How would it be enforced? Is it jail time?
It'd be death. Death is the ultimate mandate.
It would be forced. No, it would be like if you go out of your house, the National Guard will pick you up and throw you back into your house. And with another infraction, we'll lock you in a facility where we'll isolate you because you won't, right? Because that's essentially what this is. We're talking about National
What
Guard
if you resist then?
already going into places. Well, I mean, now you're breaking other laws, right? You're resisting arrest.
Breaking the law by resisting an unjust law. That's, I mean, you're not wrong.
No,
I'm just saying, like, it ultimately.
Well, that's what I'm saying. How many lives would have to be saved for it to be a just law?
Okay, well, all right. I was just thinking strictly in terms of like, oh, now you broke another law by resisting the breaking of one. All right, whatever.
No, I understand that.
I don't know. Like, it'd have to be a good amount. If we're putting everyone on hold for 3 minutes, not people who got it, recovered, or people who maybe aren't susceptible, that's a lot to take in. What would anyone say to that? I don't know if anyone could put it on. Well, alright, there's the extremists in my line of thinking who will say, like, 0. Like, it doesn't matter. There's no good reason to ever be forced to stay in your house. But, again, I'm a proponent of the non-aggression principle. As long as I'm not doing harm to others. But if me walking around is going to kill people, and I could easily avoid killing those people by not going in those, well, you know what? Actually, now it does become an interesting question.
I already thought it was, but
now that I'm saying it out loud, it's, geez, because 3 months is a while. You're not, well, when you're welcoming these motherfuckers. What do you guys think? Do you think 3 months is like acceptable to save? Because how do you put value on a life? Like,
well, that's the ethical question, right? And that's why we're putting. Yeah, go ahead, Molly. You're muted. Okay, good.
Yeah, I didn't want to interrupt you. Sorry.
No,
but
please.
They do this in health insurance, though. It's called quality adjusted life years. Like, they literally put a threshold on a person's life and how much they spend based on how long they're expected to live and how their quality of life is. So we do have a system. I mean, we do it in our legal system too. I'm not saying like this is not helpful to like the ethical discussion here, but we do have a method for doing this. I mean, when trial attorneys are trying to get damages for their clients, it's like, oh, money isn't gonna like fix, that you broke your back in this situation, but we have to, this is what we use to equate certain things, so we have to compensate you, so we're going to put a value to what you would or would not have been doing and then give you that. So we do this in our system in critical infrastructure.
Yeah, it's like damages, right? There's a word for this. I don't know what it is right now.
Yeah, probably another one.
Well, so, okay, what is the exact impact of that, though? Like, that...
Well, it's like, it's a legal system that we have that values life. Like, literally values life, right?
Yeah, puts a $sign on it.
And really, I'm asking you, like, what your $sign is. Because, and not necessarily a $sign, but really like how much of your rights are you willing to pay to save lives?
And for how long?
Sure.
If they said you have to stay confined to your room for a day to save one life, I'd gladly accept. But if we're talking 3 months on a nationwide scale, I don't know. I can't give you a number. I'd be pretty skeptical about that.
Do you have like if it were 300 million, then it was worth staying inside?
Yeah, I would.
Okay.
I
so
would
there
say
there is a number somewhere, right?
Well, yes, somewhere there is a number. Not that I'm ever comfortable with government saying it, but that I'm comfortable with doing it because feels like the right thing for me to do.
So there isn't a number where you'd say it is just for the American government to force us to stay inside if it saves 90% of the population.
Are they forcing 300 million people to stay
Yeah,
inside?
they're forcing. This is a federal law.
No, then it's not okay.
So you think that your personal liberties are worth 90% of the country's lives?
I
I'm
don't.
talking like
I think
250 million people, more than that.
I think the people's right that are not myself, their power to make those distinctions and decisions for themselves and their families is more important than what I would determine they do by
Well,
the
and how
force
can
of
you
my own
guarantee that
hand.
they have the enough information to make that logical decision on their own? Because lots of people right now are going on spring break, right? Which is like seriously a problematic thing. Like those people are literally killing people. I know that sounds extreme, but like more people will die because of those people's behavior. So, like, at what point is that criminal, right? At what point is that more criminal than it is a sacrifice of life to be forced to stay inside?
So I want to ask something, right? Slurp, is your issue with this just the enforcement, or is your issue the fact that you don't want the government to tell you what to do?
It's
Or
force.
is it... Right. So let's break this down of like if
And the idea. All right, continue, Crash.
Okay. So like say that enforcement was instead dealt by peer pressure, which is a very inconsistent, enforcement to use. So in that scenario, I would assume like the same amount of people would be going out, because most people right now are either taking this way too seriously that it's almost comical, or taking it not seriously enough because their information is very lacking. So what would you say is a more appropriate use of force? Because the government, even though they're just a cluster of people that are given power by being named this cluster of people. So what's the difference between those, and what is the appropriate use of force that you would be okay with?
For keeping people in their houses for 3 months to prevent the risk of spreading a deadly disease to people who could potentially die from it.
Now I'm talking about a guarantee. If you had a guarantee, if you knew that 300 million Americans,
Every
would
American,
die,
except for 27 million.
that's what I'm saying, 90+% of the population, are gonna die.
That,
Is it acceptable to then say you have to stay in your homes?
this is tough.
It is, and I don't think you actually have to answer that question or give me a number, but I think that this is the way that you need to think about this question. Is it like, at which point is a sacrifice of liberty worth saving lives?
Okay, here's the problem though with this hypothetical. The alternative of doing that, like, there's its own slew of issues which come with that. I get that.
So,
like I said,
so I can give you a guarantee. I can say, let's say, if this law is put in place, we can guarantee that we would save 250 million, but 50 million are still going to die.
No,
right?
no. Here's the more realistic approach to that. 250 million people are going to die from coronavirus if we don't stay inside. But if we all do stay inside, 150 million are going to die from starvation, 10 million are going to die from depression, 40 million are going to die from not being able to get medical treatment they would need, 50 million are going to die from domestic abuse, from not being able to get out of the home. There's a whole
but most of those situations also translate to if we are mandated to stay inside.
Yes.
Right? Or if we are not mandated to stay inside. If we are allowed to go outside, like, companies are still going to shut down who don't want to operate in these things, right? Like, there are businesses that are shutting down because they know how dangerous this is, even if their state has not told them they have to yet.
That's
right?
what's up.
So, like, there is still going to be massive deaths, which are going to cause massive depression, that will also cause massive deaths. There are people who are going to still be locked in their households because, right, those people might still starve too. We're not, like, in both scenarios, those things also cause massive loss of life.
Yeah.
So, like, that's why I'm putting it in a vacuum, because the main issues at play, because in both scenarios those things are going to happen, so you can't necessarily just attribute that to only if we get stuck inside. So like, the idea is to try to just narrow in on what really matters here, because, like, what we're really talking about is the ethics, the value of liberty in terms of human lives lost versus saved. Because those are the things that are playing a game of tug of war, right? On one side, you have, I will not sacrifice my liberty. And on the other side is, if I sacrifice my liberty, people will not die. Those are the two core elements of this question. And and for the most part, you have decided that, like, this number has to be really fucking high, because I'm not giving up my liberties. So I'm kind of curious.
In terms of negative actions, yes. I couldn't give you
in
one.
terms of, like, I will not let the government. You're saying I will not let the government mandate.
Well, I'm saying if my mere existence of going about my own life becomes such a hindrance where people are going to die from it, then I think that's something everyone should consider. But I'm not going out there shooting people. But at the same time, like, I don't think we can equate. We need to consider things like intent. A spring breaker who's an idiot and could very well be harming others via their ignorance and unwillingness to listen to anybody is still not quite the same as someone who goes into an open area and starts shooting people. I don't think. At least
no. But what if they drove drunk into a crowd? Then it's, like, more negligence than it is intentional. But, like, that's what we're talking about, is negligent behavior that ends up killing lots of people, which is manslaughter, not murder. So it's hard to, so, like, if we're comparing things, we're comparing manslaughter and not, we want to keep it apples to apples.
I'd like to phone a friend. What do you guys have to say about this? How much liberty would you be willing to give up to save how much life? And for how long?
It's so hard to say. It's so hard to say because, like, again, it goes back to, like, God damn it, so, for example, everyone on this panel is already self-isolating, I'm sure. I imagine that we are all, even if not technically self-isolating,
to an extent,
staying inside as much as we can, only going out if we feel like we really, really need to for something, and trying to limit our contact with the outside world. And I think most people are doing that. And so it goes back to kind of what I said earlier when I said, like, when these people go out, who are they really a threat to other than themselves and other people who are also making ignorant choices? So it's, like, it's so hard to say because, like, the information is out there, and the people that are going on spring break, they have the information. They know the information. They're making these choices anyway. So there's a lot of, like, people who are immune compromised, elderly, or even just us. Like, most people are staying inside. So it's really hard to say at what point do you say, hey, there's a bunch of dumbasses out here ignoring all of the warnings that we have given you guys, and choosing to continue to be a threat to the other dumbasses who are also not listening to the warnings that we have given you guys. So now we're going to strip liberty from all of you because these people chose to ignore what we said, even though, you're doing exactly what we asked, but I'm taking your liberty anyway because of this person here. So it's really, really hard to say when you become comfortable with that. I honestly have been trying to not think about it too terribly much. It goes back to me saying I've been kind of just trying to like control what I can and release what I can't. It sucks. I'm not happy with it. I'm not happy with the government mandated restrictions on our liberty that are being implemented right now. I'm very unhappy with it, but to an extent, what the fuck am I gonna do? You know, like what do I do about it?
Open a business. No, I'm just kidding. I hear you. I hear you. Okay. Crash, what do you got?
I don't really have a problem with me being isolated. I think the issue for me comes when I understand that other people are being forced to be isolated. Other people who don't have the adaptability that I do. Because it wouldn't matter to me if I was told I can never come back to my house or I had to stay somewhere else. I would survive. The issue comes for me with other people being told that they are forced to do this. But at the same time, I think that the less contact the less contact that happens between anyone that like I know in my personal circle, I will encourage them in any means that I have to say, do not go outside, do not hang around a bunch of other people, stop driving back and forth to these different places. I really don't mind myself though being told that I have to stay here because I can keep myself busy and I can keep myself safe and healthy.
All right. Thank you,
So-
Crash. Molly?
I don't have anything much new to add. Just it, like even what's happening right now with the bans on gathering sizes or the increase in shelter in place makes me like deeply uncomfortable, to be honest. But I am willing to do it.
For
And
how long?
if it helps. For how long? I mean, as I've already said, like I'm really fortunate to have a job. Like I could work remotely indefinitely. So, and like I could do it for 3 months if that's what it comes to, or even longer, honestly. And I'm willing to, and I'm willing to find new ways. Like my friends that live in the same city as me, who are much more extroverted than I am, like who never heard of Discord. Like we're having movie nights on Discord, and like I'm teaching them so much on how to be an introvert. Like I'm willing to do that as long as need be, even though like honestly I don't know what to expect, and like it's really hard to process all of this, but I'm willing to do it.
Fair enough. Now I'm pretty sure I know what the conspiracy is here. They're trying to turn everybody into introverts, and it's working.
Introverts?
Yo,
Okay.
you damn introverts. Deadlift,
The real
do you have?
virus.
I would agree with that. Deadlift, do you have? What is your thoughts on that? How much liberty would you be willing to give up for a bit of life? 3 months confined. How many lives would need to be saved? 1, 8 million, 9.
I mean, it depends on what you mean by liberty.
Locked in your house.
Dang.
Oh,
Yeah. If they say something like, you can't leave at all, then I'm kind of like, because I have to be able to walk out of my goddamn door. I'd rather die, to be honest.
you cut out a bit when you said that.
I would rather die. Did you hear me?
I heard that much. What did you say after or before? What would you rather die than
You'd rather
do?
die than what?
No, I'd rather die than stay in the house. I mean, the quarantine makes a lot of sense. Honestly, my biggest problem with how things are being set up right now is there is going to be a point where civil liberties are going to be compromised in a way. And my problem with that is obviously, yes, you should be paying fines. Like right now in New York State, starting tonight, if you're outside after 8 o'clock, without it being a work-related thing, or an essential worker, you are fined. I forgot how much, but they've been checking people already for the last couple of days. So that I understand. The curfew's not a problem to me. The problem is literally being stuck in my house, and which is funny because I'm overly introvert, but I like having options. So when you take away my options, I'm more likely to want to go outside. I'm more likely to go and do whatever. But yeah, no, like I said before, I'd rather die than be stuck in a house for the next 3 months, to be honest.
So, I mean, that's valid. Quality of life is a huge factor, and we need our liberties to have a good quality of life, I would think. But at the same time, like, I'm sure, as Deadlift would agree, we don't want the knowledge that we might have had a hand in someone's death on our conscience. And as Nim brought up in chat, like, what if it's people you do know? Would you give a little bit of liberty up for their lives? And I think the answer for most of us would be yes. And there is that natural sense of detachment that comes with knowing, like, oh, hell no, I'm not going to stay in my house for a year so someone from Milwaukee, who I never met before, can be alive.
Fucking
Like,
Milwaukee.
yeah. Fucking Milwaukee.
I mean,
who do you
the
think
funny
you
thing about
are?
that is, I'm not saying being around any social gatherings of any form or being around family, but it's ironic because, you know, I still am higher at risk, but I need to literally be around sun. I need to have fresh air. I need to go for a walk. I go
You
for a
can
walk
go
every
outside.
day.
Again, the sun is not going to give you this disease. So, like, or this virus. But you can comfortably go outside and be in the sun. You
I mean,
can
that's
even
my
go
point,
on a
too.
walk with a friend
That's
if
my
you
point
stay
too.
6
Everybody's
feet.
overly excessive about it. That's what I mean. There eventually is going to be a point where they tell you flat out they don't want anyone outside, and they're going to tell you if you go outside, you're either going to jail or you're going to be fined for it, like I said. But my point is, like, I would rather not do anything. And it's funny because I'm overly introverted, but I need my at least 1 hour or 20, 30 minutes throughout the day where I go outside and go, I hate this shit.
You need to remind yourself you're an introvert. I'm with you there.
Being in it, because, you know, as much as I hate like excessive forms of social interaction, mostly because people are imbeciles most of the time, we as human beings need social interaction. We need social interaction on, let's not say like a daily basis, but at least a weekly basis. Lacking any type of, you know, whether it be a hug or a conversation or just even someone to vent to personally on a daily basis, eventually going to go crazy.
No, to be fair, you can do that online also.
Oh no, I'm going into that too. It's gotten so bad within the last 6 days. Everybody that's clearly not an introvert is freaking out. There's a meme every day. The favorite one that I saw on Instagram the other day is this guy takes the camera, puts it really close to his face like this, and says, "This is what you guys want? You want to stay in the house? What you like to do?" And he's clearly freaking out, and there's no change in his emotion or his face. He's not joking. He's dead serious. Like, I can't stand being inside. He's having a freaking panic attack, and it's hilarious, but it's one of thousands that I've seen the last week or so. You know, people just freaking out, which, you know what? It's okay to be in the house for a little bit. I honestly think, personally, to me, it's unhealthy to be out all the time unless your job provides it. And in the reverse, being inside every day, all day, that also isn't healthy either. There needs to be some type of balance for your mental health, most importantly. But, you know, people that think, you know, staying in the house is going to kill you or vice versa, honestly, I don't really understand that. But I can definitely understand, you know, you being in the house for a couple of days, especially if you have kids. You know, it's like, what? Let me get the hell out of here. But no, a lot of people even, I think the funniest thing that I've seen so far is actual parents having to teach their children, and the lacking of patience I'm seeing is hilarious. If it's not either
education.
Yeah, that too. But it's funny. It's just every single one is either saying, like, I hate my kids because they can't solve either simple math problems or explain certain things, or they just, of course, like I said, have an extreme impatience when it comes to, well, teaching. But yeah, like I said, I'll repeat it again. I really like saying it. Like, I'd rather die than stay in the house all day.
I don't blame you. Yeah.
I say this, and I was playing Sekiro yesterday for 9 hours, so, you know, shit.
Well, on a lighter note with all this stuff, like, what a great time to be on this medium. Like, if you've got friends who have no idea what this is because they're extroverts, like now is the time to show them Twitch.
That's true.
Like,
That is true.
tell everyone you know about this site right now, because like this is going to appeal to them now in a way that like it's very hard to introduce this site to people, right?
Yeah.
Like they are sitting at home begging for content like this and have no idea this exists. And on a normal day, they might not, be like, yeah, Twitch, whatever. It's people play video games. But like, send them right now. Send them to Twitch. This is the greatest opportunity, like it's a blessing in disguise for Twitch specifically, because this is a huge opportunity for people sitting inside wanting to watch us.
Very true. Thanks for that, Finn. Thank you to everybody. I'm glad we're gonna end it on that. We're gonna go into the closings on that because I want these extroverts to know to which channels they should go to find my lovely, awesome panelist friends who was on here. So we'll do closings now. We're gonna start on my top left, and that would be Crash. Just give us a bit more detailed information regarding what you do and where to find you, and your favorite remaining healthy tip.
Okay. Hi, I'm CrashedStarling. I host and produce a podcast called Nerd Lore Podcast. You can find that on Podbean. You can find that on... There was another one. I forget it. I'm going to move on. It is about nerd culture, theories, lore, and we have a special guest coming up in the next week, Mr. Slurpaglurp himself. And this week we are releasing an episode, a preemptive episode, about fun things you can do while you're quarantined in your house. But other than that, you can find me on Twitter, you can find me on Instagram, you can find me on, I'd say Twitch, but I'm on a break for that. And my last healthy tip would be keep a proper sleep schedule in these trying times, because you will be tempted to stay up all night, and that is probably not very good for you.
I agree with that. You definitely want to get some sleep. Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you for that, Crash. Sierra, you are next, our surprise panelist over here.
Hi, I'm Sierra Grove. You can find me Sierra Grove _ Slurp just put it in the chat on Twitch, Twitter, Instagram. I am now starting to do YouTube. I am a huge mental health advocate. I spend a lot of time in the just chatting category during my streams, talking about mental health and just helping people have a place where they feel comfortable and at home, no matter what's going on in your life. And then the rest of the stream is RPGs. I just got done playing Zelda. I'm probably going to be doing a lot of Animal Crossing now, and whatever else I feel. I tried to do Skyrim the other day, and I just have played it too many times. I think I can't do it anymore. I've also just started doing a podcast on Fridays called Grove Lore, where it's a little bit of everything. And I just did my first one last week. It was a discussion panel like this, and I'll be doing a combination of that as well as some one-on-one interviews. My last healthy tip, I was very ill prepared for this as I came in kind of last second. I just kind of want to drive home the there's an amount of worry and stress around this that is healthy, but do not it'll eat at you. Do not let it do that. Focus on things that you do have control over. Focus on things that you can do every day to improve your own personal quality of life from inside or immediately outside your house by yourself. Just focus on the things that you do have control over.
I fucks with it. Thank you very much, Sierra. Molly?
So I'm a variety streamer who does mostly horror games. And for some reason I think it's funny when I scream and people laugh at me. And then I also work at an administrative healthcare organization. And I'm on Twitter, Instagram. Those are the only much. And my healthy tip is to smoke weed. Wait, no. It will help with your anxiety. Wait, no. Take it back. Everyone's been told to wash their hands over and over for how long, but seriously, wash. Yes, with weed. Wash your fucking hands. And I would second what Sierra said. Take care of your mental health. Turn off social media. Turn off the thing just be yourself, just exist for like 10 minutes a day, and try not to obsess about this every second.
I like it. Thank you, Molly. Finn, you are next, sir.
Hey.
Don't start or finish, rather.
Anyway, I am FinDiesel, or I'm Slipe-a-Gloip. You can find me in New Jersey, bro. Also, I'm FinDiesel, and can be found on Twitch. I also can be found elsewhere. I don't know. I make content sometimes. I have a YouTube channel with one video on it. I don't know. Pathetic tips. So again, understand what the symptoms are, understand how you can get it, understand how it lives on surfaces, understand how it transmits to people, understand why you're doing what you're doing, right? So like, it's not just wash your hands, it's wash your hands because you understand that this is a way to keep the germs away from both yourself and people. It's not just don't touch your face, it's don't touch your face when you may have come into contact with something that may be getting you sick, right? Like, it's okay to be a little bit worried, but like, the reason we're staying inside is not because if we go outside we're gonna die. It's because if we go outside we're gonna make this thing worse, and we're just trying to minimize, right? Everything is minimization. So like, while we may seem like we're overreacting, it's not so much that we're overreacting, it's that we are not underreacting so that we can make this thing minimal. And in the end, it's going to be very, very, very hard to tell whether or not the actions we took were actually impactful or not, because you're not going to be able to look at it and be like, look how many lives we saved, because we won't have a number of how many people may have died if we didn't take action, right? So we're talking about thankless acts. Stay home and understand that you're not going to be like a hero in a cape for it, right? Take care of yourself, avoid contact with other people as best you can, Lysol wipe stuff down. Like, these are legitimate, reasonable precautions. Your phone, go take a Lysol wipe to your phone, like, soon, because that thing's nasty, especially if you haven't done that recently. Like, even your credit card, if you're handing that to people, like, anything that would leave you an opportunity to contract this thing, it's best to avoid. Because even if you get it in the long run, the later you get it, the better it is on our administration and our systems. So, like, take care of yourselves, stay safe, and listen to the people telling you how to avoid this thing.
Unless it's a potentially evolved third wave version. I don't know shit about
Even
that.
still,
I just heard about that today.
Yeah, it's mostly like, when they say it's evolved, it's like the antibiotics we've been using, somebody didn't take enough of. So their version of the virus is less sensitive to that antibiotic, right?
Okay.
This happens with superbugs all the time. The reason that you always want to make sure you take the full prescription of your antibiotics, and the reason that you can't get them over the counter, is because if you take them improperly, whatever you're taking them for will build up an immunity to that antibiotic, and we only have like 2 handfuls of antibiotics that we use. So like, cutting one off that list is dangerous.
Fair enough. Thanks for that again, Finn. Deadlift, you're up next, sir.
Alright, so my name is Deadlift for Chips. If you in the chat don't know, I still do powerlifting streams, but I don't do them as much, and that's because, I don't want to hurt myself on live stream. I do RPG and mostly adventure-based games and platform games as well on stream when I can, like usually Mondays or Fridays. And outside of that, and that's on Twitch, of course, at Deadlift for Chips on Instagram, YouTube as well, everywhere, every goddamn platform. And YouTube, I usually do like anime analysis as well as reviews, so check that out. I did want to say, if you guys are going, coming off what Molly just said, you guys are going to use weed as an actual thing, do not do the silly Kush challenge I've been seeing the last 2 days, because I've seen people dying trying to smoke weed.
The fuck
it's a funny
is that?
thing on the planet.
What?
Look it up. It's on
Yeah,
Instagram.
no, really, I don't know what that is.
How did he die smoking
Kush.
weed?
Yeah, it's a Kush challenge. People just trying to like hold puffs of weed before they end up crying and coughing their lungs out.
So they're calling it the suffocation challenge.
Yeah, I was just gonna
So
say.
literally, yes.
Holy shit.
Well, yeah, don't do that.
They used to call me Iron Lung back in my heyday. Alright, don't do that though, for real. Also, don't huff paint, just to go back to that real quick. No paint huffing. It won't help with the virus. Maybe.
Full circle. Way to bring it
Do
back.
sniff Sharpies.
Thank you. Oh, that's fair. Well, it's short. Alright, we won't get into the physiology of it. Not yet. Guys, I am Slurp-a-Glurp, and I don't even remember what I have in the itinerary here. Okay, you can find me here. You're already here. Congratulations, you found me. I don't always do streams like these. This was my first shot at whipping something up together really quickly. Usually this wouldn't have happened, but coronavirus is crazy. I need to expand the show's reach also in terms of the topics we discuss, and I had a lot of fucking fun, and I learned a lot. Thanks to everybody on this panel. You could usually catch me streaming a variety of games, primary focus on action RPGs, horrors. McTravdad, I love you. You fancy with your black dress. I'd lift it up in public for you. Where was I? Okay. And I also do Jackbox sometimes. But we have Soulspeak where we discover, that's a word, where we discuss profound matters, philosophical issues, sociology, anthropology, politics, fringe science, paranormal shit, whatever. Then Soulspeak Light is our more light-hearted version of the show where we discuss things like social media, content creation, gaming, movies, stuff like that. So yeah, and I've been privileged to consistently get awesome people on these panels. So thank you all very much. I feel like I'm forgetting something here. Maybe, I don't know. We are gonna go do a raid now. If y'all can join... Oh, you know what? I would like to give a special thanks to Sierra Grove, actually, because initially, for those of you who didn't see in the beginning, I was supposed to have... You shut your mouth! I was supposed to have a... No, I'm just kidding. It's my pleasure. I was supposed to have a good friend of mine on here, and he had some tech issues. He's not a content creator, but he is a doctor of biomedicine, so I was excited to get him on, but it failed. But Sierra was here, and she stepped up, and I love her for it, so definitely peep her if you have not already, and peep everyone here for a variety of different, but similarly powerful reasons.